Welcome back to Macro Dosing. Macro Dosing on a Thursday. Get used to it. We're very happy to be back. This episode is brought to you by Shady Rays. Shady Rays. I'm wearing them right now. Where are your Shady Rays, Big T?
They're at my desk. I try not to wear them inside. I keep all the sun protection for outside.
I like that. What about you, Billy? You've been rocking your Shady Rays?
All the time.
All the time. That was the sound of a man that knows his sunglasses.
Hell yeah.
Yeah, Billy's definitely.
I stay strapped.
You're like Duff Man. You look like Duff Man today.
I am Duff Man.
Shady Rays sunglasses offer an industry-best combination of fit, style, and performance without the big brand price tag. We've had a couple people tweet us pictures of their Shady Rays that they've purchased. I do love Shady Rays. They are my favorite sunglasses in the world. I'm wearing them right now. I wear them all the time. I wore them on the Lazy River. And thank you to everybody that submitted their takes and their recommendations for lazy rivers that Arian and I need to float down. I appreciate everything that you guys have sent over. Shady Rays, I'm just going to say, are the official sunglasses of Lazy Rivers. And the best part about Shady Rays is if you break or lose your pair, even on day one, they send you a brand new pair. So you can wear them with confidence because Shady Rays has your back long after you purchase. If you don't love them, exchange them for a new pair, or you can return them for free within 30 days. There's no risk when you shop with Shady Rays. Their team always has your back. Go to shadyrays.com and use promo code MACRO. 50% off 2 or more pairs of polarized sunglasses. shadyrays.com and use promo code MACRO for 2 or more pairs of their polarized sunglasses. All right. We're back, bitch. Macrodosing, the only podcast on the internet. You like that for a tagline, Arian?
It's pretty aggressive, man. I'm not gonna lie.
I'm feeling aggressive today.
PFT, what percentile do you think you are of human that has worn sunglasses in the last 10 years? You're probably like...
You mean like my time percentage?
Yeah, like besides blind people, you're probably...
I don't think you beat Ray Charles.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. Besides blind
Ray
people,
Charles
you're
is
probably
dead,
in the
so
top.
I think I did.
No, but I think in his lifetime.
Oh, well, yeah.
I said the last 10
He
years.
said the last 10 years. I've crushed Ray Charles in the last 10 years.
Yeah.
Unless, wait, was he buried
they
with his
buried him,
shades?
man.
Yeah. When did he pass away? I want to say like 2005, 2004.
PFT, you might want to fix your hair. real quick.
R.I.P. to the GOAT.
Oh, yeah. Thank you. Good call.
Yeah.
Is that better?
Yeah, look like you was rocking the mullet right there.
Yeah, I can only wish. One day I'll rock a mullet. I'll bring that back. Yeah, maybe I'm like 90%, I'd say.
Yeah.
95%.
I would say so too.
Hard to beat me. That's for sure. But we're back. I am feeling a little bit aggressive today. Just right off the bat, I want to talk about a couple things. Not to make this podcast all about myself, but I have had a very eventful last, let's say 18 hours.
Get it off your chest, dog.
Well, so Billy injected some substances into my arm yesterday. At about
Adrenochrome.
6 o'clock. It might have been. It might have been baby blood. I don't know where he got it from. I don't know what website he purchased it from. That's
It's
the one.
peptides. I gave him some peptides.
So Billy did inject the research chemicals into my arm last night at about 6 p.m. And he was being such a little bitch about it. It really annoyed me because he brought him in a couple days ago, and then he kept finding reasons why he couldn't do it. And then he kept asking me, like, are you going to do it? Are you going to do it? Basically bullying me into doing it. And then after I would say yes, he would then find another reason to try to back out. So it was the mind fuck of me agreeing to let Billy, who doesn't know shit about anything, inject some strange medicine from God knows where into my arm. It's a mind fuck of saying, yeah, Billy, you can go ahead and do that. And then having Billy take it away and then ask me again if he can do it. It was tough to deal with. So I've been recovering from this arm injury, and Billy got these research chemicals, and he got the syringes out yesterday, and he injected them into my arm. And
Yo, you let Billy inject something in you?
Yeah.
Yo, that's an L. That's an L for you.
yeah, it's really dumb. It's
but what
honestly maybe the dumbest thing that I've ever done.
What if he doesn't, like, let's say it works and you don't have to get surgery? That's going to be a W.
That's what I was thinking. That would be a common Billy W.
The worst thing that could happen is
Is
nothing.
it common?
No, uncommon.
Common thing?
Uncommon Billy W.
Honestly, this has been going on for a long time, and I didn't think he'd actually go through with it. So every time I was hesitant in case he really wanted to back out and just be like, no. I was waiting for him to say a hard no, and he never did. So, I mean, like...
What is the diagnosis of your elbow injury?
I've got a UCL injury which is a ligament in my forearm, and
Yeah.
I kind of just stopped doing what the doctor recommended after I don't know, like a week and a half, because the brace that they gave me was such bullshit. It was just this little strap that itched on my forearm and didn't really put that much pressure on it. So I just got that. Remember that Adidas armband that I was wearing for a while that looked like I looked like a cornerback. I was wearing that, and then I kind of stopped doing that for a while, and I just rested it for like 2.5 weeks. Then I was supposed to have a follow-up appointment that I skipped, and now I'm starting to work out again. I'm starting to get back into it to see if I can use my arm again, if it's functional. And part of that process is injecting these research chemicals that Billy purchased online.
They're a peptide.
And so don't do this at home. Don't, trust me, you do not want to follow Billy Football's medical advice. I'm just glad that I woke up this morning. That's how I'm looking at it.
My concerns with the injection was for him having an allergic reaction. And besides that was my only real concern.
I had a couple other concerns because so Billy gets out the syringe, he gets out the whole process, the whole kit, and then he forgets to wipe my arm down with the alcohol, like the rubbing alcohol swab.
Well, I was too busy,
And I'm like, Billy,
I had just gone through a whole process of sterilizing all the equipment, and I just happened to forget one thing to sterilize, which is very important.
Wait.
Probably the most important thing to sterilize.
But thank God,
Billy.
like,
You sterilizing all the equipment. You took the equipment out of sealed packages. You didn't have to sterilize it.
no, I had to sterilize the tops of the caps and stuff.
Okay, well, so
And
Billy,
then also, yeah.
Billy takes the needle out, fills it up, and he's getting ready to put it in my arm. And I'm like, Billy, you got to wipe my arm down with rubbing alcohol. He said, oh yeah. And then he takes the syringe and he starts flicking it to get, you know how you're supposed to get the air bubble to go to the top of the syringe so you don't inject that. He's holding the fucking syringe the wrong way with the needle pointing down, and he's flicking it to get the air bubbles to like float up closer to the top.
Yeah,
of the
so
plunger.
that it doesn't go inside of you.
I've watched enough TV shows about hospitals to know that you turn it upside down and you have it go to the place where the needle is.
Whatever.
And then you squirt a little out so that there's no air in there.
Yeah, so I had to tell Billy to do all this, which at that point I was like, I should back out because Billy's probably going to kill me.
No, I mean, well, look, I mean, it was an insulin needle, by the way, and we weren't injecting into a vein. It's really not, like, air bubbles is not that big of an issue in a subcutaneous. It wasn't into a vein.
Okay, that was like, y'all are tripping right now.
Yeah,
No, it wasn't. It was
subcutaneous.
it was into the skin, not into a vein.
Yeah. So, I mean, it's not in the scope of things. Probably was a very bad idea. I kept saying you could do this, and he never said no, and I was like hesitant several times. But don't do that at home.
Yeah.
It's all the anti-aging clinics do it. And maybe this, $150 will save him from having to do, months of rehab, months of therapy, and spend thousands of dollars on a surgery. So that's the gamble.
It won't.
It might. Also, this is something that Joe Rogan does.
But it won't.
I want him
ligaments, for the most part, like if you're not like super active, they'll heal in a way that you can function, but surgery's like usually the only way to fix those.
Yeah. Well, I hope it worked. I feel okay today. It was a little sore, slight discoloration, and then Billy just slathered my arm up with Neosporin or whatever that thing was.
Well, because I don't want
afterwards.
you to get an infection.
And so this morning, I go to the gym, not to brag. I just did. It's a statement of fact. I went to the gym to try to work out and to see if my arm felt better. And I'm getting, some relatively light arm weights. And there's this lady that's working out next to me. And she's doing a lot of lower body exercises, including like
Posterior
chain work. She's putting cables like on her foot and doing some very aggressive like lunges and isolation exercises
on the glutes.
And I'm just trying to work out, minding my own business. And so I take the weights up, and she's been doing these exercises, by the way, for like 15 minutes, 20 minutes at this point. I take the weights up and I exchange them for some different weights at the weight rack. And as I pick them up to turn around, I notice that there's a camera. Her phone is set up that's like right next to the weight rack, and it's been recording her the entire time doing these exercises. And like my face goes, I look right into the camera lens and I make this like shocked face. I'm like, oh, what's going on? And then I just like walk the weights back and I keep working out with them. And then I realize like, I think I stumbled into an OnlyFans video because this girl was doing some very, very suggestive exercises.
Could be TikTok.
It could be
probably,
TikTok.
yeah.
She might be a fitness influencer, but so I wasn't creeping out on her, and I saw that the camera was set up, and then I paid more attention to like what she was wearing at that point, and she was wearing like these super super tight leggings that had even like shadows and stuff accentuating like her butt crack
Those are a
and
thing.
different parts of it. It was they were very
She's
aggressive.
probably just a fitness influencer.
She might be. It might be Fitspo.
My man said the leggings were aggressive.
They were very aggressive leggings,
I
and so
thought-
now I'm wondering if I'm gonna be in some video on the
Well,
internet.
no, at least no. Honestly, there's tons of videos of girls doing that, and then a guy in the background staring, and then the girl calling them out for staring. And
You think she was doing a sting?
that's what a lot. And then like there's a whole thing, but I mean that's something that is it probably an issue that needs to be talked about, like exhibitionism in the gym,
Yeah.
because everyone does it, both genders. But I mean, why are you there to work? Like,
Yeah. I hope. Well, if it was a sting, then I'm gonna end up being like one of those guys that's like, be like this guy, because I wasn't staring at her until I saw the camera.
Or
and,
you're part of, you're going to be like,
and then I was like, what's
when
going on
girls
here?
put the phone in their back pocket and try to catch guys checking them out.
That's old school stuff. I remember it was like MTV's Summer House. They had Jenny McCarthy, I think, or Carmen Electra,
Yeah.
wear like a camera on a keychain that was dangling around their neck, and it would just like catch guys looking at their boobs. It's
Yeah.
like, well, yeah, Carmen Electra in a bikini is looking at me. I'm probably there's gonna be a peak that happens. But if I do end up in a Fitspo video online, appreciate the fact
Are you
that I wasn't creeping
do-
on this person.
Are you doing a little damage control right now? That's what it sounds like.
Yeah.
Sounds like you're doing a
No,
little-
I was just curious, and I'm sure that if the video comes out, like I actually wasn't staring at her at all until I saw the camera, and then I was like, "What?"
We'll be the judge.
What's
we'll be
going
the judge
on?
of that.
I
Sounds a little damage control-y right now. I'm just
I hope the video comes out because I'll be vindicated.
I mean, the thing is with those types, I just don't understand why. I don't know. I'm about to get. This might be Andrew Tatey.
Go off.
talk to us, Incel King.
Top G. Can you say it in a British accent?
What's the matter? What's the matter with you? No, I just
Billy,
like,
no, dude. If you're gonna say Andrew Tate shit, you
I'm
gotta
not gonna
say it in
say
a
it.
British accent.
what's the matter if guys are looking if they're wearing exhibition gear? Why are they wearing the yoga pants? Why aren't they dressed like the guys in the Allstate commercial if they don't want to be stared at?
Okay,
Top G.
You want him to work out in khakis?
No, I mean it's just like, how'd you have any expectation of not attracting attention if you're wearing bright colored spandex that's very revealing?
Billy's
I
taking.
think women mind like you glancing at them, but it's the overtly like
Right. But I don't know. Actually,
weirdo staring, hawking, looking like that's uncomfortable, dog.
That's not. I'm talking about the extreme situations where there's some of these videos online where the girls are like in doing what PFT's talking about, and they like catch guys like checking them out for a second, and then they like get mad at them. That's what I'm talking about. Like girls, like guys creeping on girls, totally bad. But
I think
But
Billy,
everybody's definition of creepy is different, though. I think if the woman feels like you're being creepy, just be like, my apologies, and try not to look against it. That wasn't my intent. You are very attractive. I apologize.
I'm more talking about the videos where they try to trap
I
guys
ain't-
into like and
I ain't-
calling them
I ain't
out.
seen them.
There's a couple.
I think that's mostly just for
I think that
for
gets on
clicks.
my
It's
page.
like man on the street
Yeah.
type stuff.
I think that just comes up in my TikTok page just to make me like what?
Yeah, Billy's going with the whole like animal kingdom excuse. Like, well, they're wearing brightly colored outfits that are clearly designed to attract a mate. So naturally, my eyes will be trapped.
I remember
Walk that back.
I was watching some interview. Jordan Peterson said that he was like, "Should there be, what did he say? He said, should men and women be able to work together? And if they do, there should be some rules as to what they can wear." and lipstick is one of them. He's like, why do you wear red lipstick? Because red lipstick is, or your lips turn red during sexual arousal. And it's just like, bro, what are you saying? It was a wild.
I'm pretty sure women wear lipstick because they like how it makes them look.
Yeah,
right?
who cares why they wear
Mad
wear
Dog, I
lipstick?
should probably,
Doesn't give you the
I'm
right
not
to
trying
be
to lip-splain.
No, you're right.
Why do women wear lipstick?
Because it brings a look together. When you're doing makeup, it brings a look together. And people like the way it makes them look. I don't wear lipstick because I don't like the way it makes me look. So I don't wear it.
There's also the argument that like they're dressing up for other women to like compare fashion.
Yeah.
But like
I think that's the majority
Yeah.
of it, honestly.
I mean, that's also kind of why like a lot of guys do aesthetic lifting.
Yeah.
Yeah. It's not curls for the girls.
Yeah, it's like just like, yo, dude, check out this back, and then they do some weird flex, and it's like, who's that? Like, no one like.
Because you're not going to be as impressed with like a really good outfit as like my friend will be, or like a boy isn't gonna like understand it. Just like I'm probably not gonna understand you like hitting a max bench press.
Yeah.
Like you're not gonna understand
I'm like extra jealous of women can like shop like at Target and shit and look fire. Like, you know what I'm saying? Like the variety and array of clothing that they can pick, like that shit looks fire. Like a regular Target store and shit like that. You can't find like there's not really good clothes for dudes like at Target.
You can get a good fit.
can get
I've
something.
actually been
I do
putting
love
together.
Target clothes.
I've been on Amazon buying super cheap clothes recently
same.
that
Yeah,
people
we know,
think are
Billy.
cool. I've been getting comments on. I have like a $20 pair of running shoes that look like they're like really sick.
Show me your best fit. Text to the group your best fit.
I
Yeah.
got these
and let's see.
I'm just trying to remember Billy's outfits from the last month, and honestly, Billy, like you, like I dress very poorly, really badly, and I don't think you dress that much better than I do.
No, I don't, but I think I do it cheaper.
I don't think that's true because I do it for free.
I do a lot of like this is
Like,
free.
I usually don't wear anything unless
Flex.
no, it's not really a flex. 'Cause
Flex.
It's just like shirts that we make around the office and
Yeah,
stuff.
I'm talking pants
Billy,
and shoes.
they pay me to wear my shit. That's
No,
what
but
it
like
is.
I'm literally like there's a pair of shoes that are like like you might think is name brand, or even like one of those high end brands. Actually, I'll show you. I'll release a list of cheap shoes I've been buying.
I wear nothing but flip flops.
That's facts.
Nothing but flip flops.
By the way, there's
Nothing but
so many
flip-flops.
good like
Oh
Fern-
fuck yeah!
what?
I got some Chuck T's.
All right, some breaking news here.
Uh-oh.
The Washington Defenders XFL team. I don't know if they're going to be called the Defenders again, but that's a team that I played, the DC Defenders. I played for them back in 2020, briefly for a day. Their defensive coordinator is going to be Greg Williams. Dr.
Oh,
Heat,
hell
baby.
yeah! Dial up the heat.
Dr. Heat is making his return to football, to the XFL for my team. That's fucking awesome.
Wait, is that the guy that used to be on the Browns, right? He used to coach the Browns.
Yeah, and the
Yeah.
Greg
Jets.
with Greg with two G's.
2 G's.
Yeah.
That's awesome.
I liked him.
Yo, speaking of football,
Yeah.
did you see your man's Brett Favre?
I did see my man Brett Favre.
That shit is funny.
What a bad criminal. He's
That
like
shit is hilarious.
They
man.
can't catch us, right?
Brett
Putting
Favre.
that in writing.
Brett Favre. I'm just gonna say I think he's the number one worst texter of all time.
Up there for sure.
If you take into account
Yeah.
the totality of his career, I think Brett Favre might be the worst texter of all time. Him, Anthony Weiner, and Brett Favre, neck and neck for the crown. I don't know who to give it to, but goddamn, Brett, you're a fucking moron, and also just a bad guy. Turns out Brett Favre, bad
Oh,
dude.
I didn't see what exactly happened. He got caught in text with all the welfare fraud.
Yeah, so
Yeah.
he's got the whole welfare thing where he took money from the state that was part of the welfare fund, and they paid him to give speeches that he never gave, and I think it's something like $2 or $3 million. And he knew that something was up with that. I don't care what he says. Like if you get paid $3 million to do something, and you don't end up doing it, you know that something's amiss, and you ask some questions about that. The most recent one is I think he took. What was it? He like redistributed $5 million from the state welfare fund to
Yeah.
his daughter's college to build a volleyball arena for the volleyball
Yeah.
team. And so he just took $5 million from the state welfare fund.
Yep.
And then also very clearly tried to make sure that nobody ever found out about it. So Brett
Mhm.
Favre,
Well, didn't do a good job of that.
yeah. Despite the fact that he texted, he's like, "Hey, can we make sure that nobody finds out about this?" Okay,
And they're
thanks.
like, oh yeah. Fucking Batman over there covering his tracks. But yeah, that shit's hilarious, man. Shout
yeah,
out to Brett Favre.
he's just he's
I
dumb.
mean-
Brett Favre's never been a smart guy. He's lovable on the football field, I guess, but turns out just bad dude.
All time.
Yeah. So anybody have anything they want to get into today real quick before we jump into our main topic? There's one other thing that I had, but going to send it around the room. Anyone else? Big T, you teed off about anything?
No, not really.
Aaron?
New Mermaid's coming out. I'm hype about that. The new Little Mermaid.
Yeah. What's this one about?
Same shit. Water politics. The Little Mermaid, the live action joint. My kids are all excited about it. I'm excited about it. I can't wait to see that shit.
That's cool.
By the way, is that another mermaid or is that Ariel?
It's Ariel.
She's Ariel, but she's black.
Mhm.
I saw somebody getting
So-
mad about that. This is actually, it's very, very racist, but also like, it's funny how dorky and racist this person was being. I saw somebody got so upset that the Little Mermaid was going to be black that he wrote a computer program that was going to go through it scene by scene
And replace.
and replace the black actress with a white actress so that he didn't have to watch a black Little Mermaid. Like it's disgusting, but it's also like that guy might be the biggest loser in the history
Yeah.
of the world.
I mean, at some point you gotta, respect the dedication to racism. Like he is dedicated, dog.
That's what I'm saying. Like I don't respect his racism, but I do respect how I admire his passion. How about that?
So you know what's crazy? Like, so they did this for The Hobbit and they did this for Game of Thrones. They were talking about how like the Targaryens can't be like some of the characters in New Game of Thrones are
Yeah.
black, and in The Hobbit there's black characters, which Tolkien described as black. What's crazy is that all those people are like mad about this great replacement theory thing that like white people are getting replaced. But turns out there's I found this on TikTok and Reddit. Turns out there's an opposite ideology that there's some black people who think they're being replaced by white people, like Dr. Umar. And I was like, you guys just cancel each other out.
Yeah.
No. Dr. Umar doesn't think they're gonna be replaced.
Well-
Dr. Umar, he has a long line of ideas, but Dr. Umar is very well known in the black community, and he's problematic for sure. But I would categorize him as like a Afrocentrist, and so he's primarily concerned with keeping black families black and doing for black. He doesn't necessarily believe that black people are being replaced.
I probably I was trying to describe Afrocentrism and probably just coined Dr. Umar, but it was an Afrocentrist like line of thinking, because they took a picture of Patrick Mahomes and Patrick Mahomes' father and was like, in only 2 generations, and then they showed Patrick Mahomes' kid and it was like, in only 2 generations all the melanin is gone, like replacement. Like,
Yeah, so there are black people, which I do not subscribe to this, but there are black folks who believe in keeping their family black. And although I don't necessarily, like, if you love somebody, like, and you want to build a family with somebody, do your thing. But I understand the sentiment, honestly. I do. I understand the sentiment. But I also understand how it could be extremely problematic. But I don't think it's to the extent of the great replacement theory. I can see the parallels, but I think the context surrounding the two ideologies are a little bit different.
you think that one's just more widespread than the other one?
No, I think like when you're talking about black Afrocentrism and like wanting to keep your family black, that has to deal with.
Yeah.
Oh, what are you talking about?
I was saying that I'm not comparing that with the Great Replacement theory. I'm sort of saying that there's two ideologies that conflict from differing sides of the spectrum, that it's just like it's funny that there's people in both groups who think the same thing, but they counter each other.
Yeah, I'm not in the camp that, because there are people in the camp that like black people can't be racist. Like there are black folks that think that. I don't think that. I think that you can absolutely be racist and be black. But I think the context in which the reasons as to why they come to their conclusions are different, and so I'm a little bit more empathetic towards those than people who think a black Little Mermaid is problematic.
Right.
Yeah, I think from the black side of things, it sounds like keeping your culture alive is almost seen as being beneficial because white people have done so much to try to take that away over the years.
Yeah.
And I think white people, the way they approach it is like they're going to take our place in society, and we don't like that. You know, so it's like a little bit the ideology, I think, has different. There's like different histories behind what led them, but now in like practice, it's the same thing, but for different reasons. I think that's kind of what
I just would like to put the like two people, like the people who don't like the new Mermaid and the people who think that on the other side, and just see what would happen. That's what I really want to say.
What do you think would make white people the angriest? Like what character to do a remake of a movie and then change the race of the character?
James Bond, I think, has been the biggest one.
Yeah, but it was smart because the name they floated out there was Idris Elba, and everybody loves Idris Elba.
Yeah. And then they're like, he's a code name, not a real person.
Let's see, what could it be?
Paul Blart Mall Cop. Paul Blart's white.
Yeah, I agree.
I like that movie, man.
That's a good movie.
Yeah, Paul Blart is
like
white.
that movie.
That's a fact.
The second one was awful, though. I watched it the other day. It was horrible.
Sequels can't do it justice.
Awful.
If you replace Paul
Except for
Blart
Home Alone.
with like Cedric the Entertainer, I'm out.
Doesn't
I'm
make
gonna get
That
radicalized.
shit might be funny. That shit might be funnier.
Okay, all right. Joe Dirt. If you fucking put Kevin Hart in the role of Joe Dirt, I'm storming the Capitol.
I think something like what's an iconic, like maybe no, because they did that already. I was about to say the Wizard of Oz, but they did the Wiz, and that shit was cracking with Michael Jackson.
What about like Santa?
yeah.
Does that count?
No, we do that every December.
Yeah.
Which was the opposite.
Matter of fact, I remember Fox News freaking out about that because Santa's not black. Santa's white.
Yeah, Megyn
Like,
Kelly.
is he? Yeah, Megyn Kelly. That's who it was.
It's just a fact that Santa's white.
Super facts.
Let's see. What other characters are very important in white culture growing up? Trying to remember Bart Simpson.
Oh.
Bart Simpson ain't white.
Yeah, so
Yeah, he's probably white.
we've
He's
had
probably white.
we've
He's
had
probably
this
white.
discussion because
He's probably white.
Coley changed my mind on this. R.I.P. Because I told Coley, I was like, I think were the Simpsons white or were they? It was a different race. They were yellow, and Coley was like, no, the Simpsons were white, and so we got into a big discussion. I think he changed my mind. I think the Simpsons.
I don't think Marge was though. I don't think Marge was white. I think I mean, look at her hair.
Blue.
Yeah, no, she did have
No, not
different
blue.
hair.
The texture, like it was very thick and it stood up.
It held together.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, there were a couple episodes where she ironed it and made it fall down. She had to straighten it.
Flat iron. Marge was looking good.
She
right?
did look good, yeah. What, Billy?
Just
The biggest problem I had yesterday with Billy injecting me with these research chemicals was as he had the fucking syringe loaded up and he was messing up how to like get the air out, he was just laughing. He just couldn't stop laughing. I was sweating just in agony, being like, "Oh shit, when is he going to jam this in?" And Billy was fucking laughing the entire time.
I just can't believe you let Billy put a
That's
needle in you.
wild.
I know it's
Yeah.
it's
I was trying to give it to him and say, do it yourself. And he was like, no, you have to do it.
No, but I can't believe it got to that point in the conversation.
I was trying to tell him to do it himself, but he wouldn't do it.
No, yeah, no thanks. Did you guys see that the Queen had a secret bowling talent, Wii Bowling?
No.
Yes, someone tried to gift her a 24-karat gold Nintendo Wii that she never ended up using, but she was also a secret gamer. The Queen loved to play video
Damn.
games.
Do we know what she played?
F's in the
Wii
chat for the
bowling.
Queen. Press F.
Well, I don't think we'd call her a gamer though.
The monarch shared a love of Nintendo Wii with her grandson. It's pretty badass.
I want somebody to do a screenshot of Elizabeth like in a Twitch box.
Yeah.
Like she's playing fucking Call of Duty, just murking people.
I've been seeing a lot of TikToks of her doing extremely normal things and people being like, wow, look how relatable she was. Like, and not even like Harry is standing behind her one time and she's like talking to one of his friends from the military or something. And he goes, I shared a tent with him, Granny. And she like chuckles a little bit. And it's like, wow, he called her Granny. Like she was, look what a normal person she was. And it's all very odd. And it's all the same like 4 clips. She like cuts a cake one time and people were like, wow, she cut cake.
If the Queen was a Twitch streamer, I would have felt bad that she died. But nah, it's like whatever.
there is the element that she's literally, that whole family are just pet humans,
Yeah.
and they're just like dressed up dolls that have no real power.
They're mascots.
That like, that's why like Will and Kate are trying to not Will and Kate, Harry
Harry and Meghan.
and Meghan are trying to escape, and like Diana.
It is kind of crazy how Harry and Meghan are they are kind of living like a fairy tale storyline, aren't they?
Like Prince runs away.
Like Prince runs away to
It's a
find true
Netflix
love.
Christmas movie.
Is it?
Well,
Sounds like
they
it.
make that same movie every year.
Yeah. A prince runs away. A princess, a humble girl grows up in America, ends up becoming a princess, only to realize that it's not everything that she wanted, convinces her prince to abdicate the throne and run away in pursuit of true love.
I've seen this movie. I'm trying to remember what it's called. Madeline, have you seen it? It's I've got to think. The Christmas Prince or something?
Is that it's the one with Vanessa Hudgens, isn't it?
No, that they remade it with her, I think. The first one had Rose McIver. Yeah. This is the movie. You just described A Christmas Prince on Netflix. Good film.
Okay.
Solid movie.
But is the remake with Vanessa Hudgens?
Yeah, they redid it, I think.
Yeah.
I've noticed that we haven't really had a great addition to the Christmas canon recently. Like what's the most important or the best piece of art or cinema or music or whatever you want to call it that's come out recently that you think will stand the test of time and be added to the list of Christmas things? For example, I would say, Elf is probably.
I think that's already in there.
Is that too
Elf's in
far
there.
away?
Kelly
Like,
Clarkson's
it's almost
Christmas song
20
is
years
really
ago.
good.
Yeah.
Mariah Carey, All I Want for Christmas Is You.
Frozen?
The first time I heard that, I was like,
That's not a Christmas movie.
It
This
is.
is not a Christmas
I've never
movie.
actually seen it.
No, it's not about Christmas at all.
it's cold.
It's cold. That's it.
It's about the snow and the tundra, but it's not a Christmas movie.
Love Actually.
That's from a while ago.
No,
though.
that's not.
Yes, it is.
That's
I think
You're not
that's
gonna
another
add that.
Christmas
Like,
canon.
Love
like it's not. That's actually my gripe. My gripe is there are no good Christmas shit anymore. Like,
Yeah.
We need someone to teach us the true meaning of Christmas again.
Love Actually is a Christmas movie, though.
Should
but
we
it's-
make a true meaning of Christmas type? Should we make a contribution to Christmas?
I think you should do it, Billy.
Are we the true meaning of Christmas?
Billy regains the true.
Billy
meaning of
finds out the true
Christmas.
meaning of Christmas. Yeah.
No, Kelly Clarkson Christmas song that came out a couple years ago is good. I like that one.
The Pup Punk Christmas song, Just One Christmas, that was probably up
But,
there.
Mm-hmm.
you gonna add it to the list of like Christmas songs? Like, you know what I mean?
Is it going to be on?
I haven't heard it. I'll listen to it.
Is
but
Kelly Clarkson's song going to make Arian's playlist?
It should. It's really good.
I'll listen. Matter of fact, I'll listen to it right now. Y'all discuss amongst each other.
It's really good. I like it.
What else?
I'll give you your
What else
the
has
rating.
been added recently? No real good TV specials, right?
There's no TV specials anymore, like, period.
Yeah.
That's tough.
Oh, the Bill Murray Christmas Netflix special.
Oh, I didn't see that.
Mm-mm. Is it like a stand-up thing?
Yeah. Wait. A Very Murray Christmas, 2015.
Oh, that's good. That's a good title for it.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Is it underneath the tree?
Yeah.
Did you see that the Air Force put out like a memorandum for language in the workspace, it's like the old phrase versus the new phrase kind of thing. There's obviously some like things that we can't say on here, but I'm gonna send it. You guys have to read it. It's absolutely hilarious.
Okay. Before we get into the QAnon stuff too, and I will check this and we'll discuss it. I want to hear what this whole "Don't Eat the Bugs" thing is about, because I saw that we put out a shirt that says "Don't Eat the Bugs," and so I feel like I need an explanation as to what "Don't Eat the Bugs" is.
So I have a whole explanation. Because of how protein processing in the world is so environmentally unsustainable, cattle farming, dairy ranching, pork production, factory farming, they want to switch the protein source to bugs, which are less environmentally impactful and easier to farm. And because of that, they want to normalize bug protein being in things. So like protein powders, they're sneaking into pastas, cricket powder. And because it is true, it's much easier and environmentally sustainable to create more biomass containing protein through bugs than cows, because you can just grind the whole things up. The thing with it is that, like, if they come out with a bug patty that replaces, a beef burger, they want to, like, the idea is that they're going to replace beef and McDonald's and all the fast food that has protein in it with, instead of pink slime, it's going to be pink slime made of crickets.
Who's they?
They is think tanks that are trying to be more sustainable and help global warming.
All right. So, but aren't there a lot of very powerful conglomerates that are heavily invested in meat?
Yeah, but the thought process, this actually factors into QAnon, which we'll get into later, but the thought process is that though they're buying up those large conglomerates, like Bill Gates buying tons of farm and farmland in order to make that switch.
Okay. I don't think that it's a new thing though for bug protein. I think people are just talking, like, it's been in the news more, but it's because it's designed to get clicks from people getting upset about I remember eating like cricket flour 20 years ago, and it was a thing where it's like, if you grind up.
When did you eat cricket flour?
Like 20 years ago. They put it in chocolate chip cookies. It's been going on for a while. I know you think that it's new, but it's only because people, I think, are getting mad about it that's made it seem new.
It has some QAnon type impacts because they say it's part of the Great Reset that's being planned.
Okay.
But other people are just pissed that they're trying to make us eat bugs.
Okay.
But it's a very the most harmless part of that whole conspiracy. So people are just like, I don't want to eat bugs.
Mm-hmm.
Got it.
But
it's like supposed to be like the liberal agenda taking over.
Yeah.
Got it.
But it's not. I think the guys in the office saying it aren't. They're just like, we're not going to eat the bugs.
It's Jack Mack.
Okay. Okay. Got it.
But there is some writing about how chitin, CHITIN, which exoskeletons of bugs are made out of, like for example, it's like cellulose.
Mm-hmm.
Like cellulose the human body can't break down because we don't have cell walls, we have cell membranes, and cell walls make up is cellulose. And then bugs have different cell membranes to humans, and that involves a lot of chitin, CHITIN, which is what the exoskeletons are made up of, and that consumption of chitin heavily inflames your digestive system because the body just can't break it down and has no use for it. So there is that element of the inflammatory factor, but I don't know if it would compare to like the inflammatory factor of red meat.
Okay. All right. Well, cricket flour and a chocolate chip cookie is delicious. I don't know about the rest of it. That's all. That's my personal take. Also, Chick-fil-A is delicious. McDonald's is great.
What happens if they start coming out with cricket burgers or roach burgers?
Are they going to be good tasting?
Like, let's say they're like the Beyond Burgers.
So the Beyond breakfast sausage wrap thing from Dunkin' Donuts is pretty good. I'll give them that one. But if it tastes good, I guess I'll try it.
Because a lot of the institutional investing that was going into Beyond Meats and stuff. Because remember, like 2 years ago, I don't know, that was back when I wasn't working at Barstool. I was working in finance, and that was like that stock IPOing was the whole rage. And I was just like, well, this is where it's going, and now that sort of institutional investing is being applied to the cricket.
bugs.
Because the vegetable fake meat alternatives couldn't get the same protein levels without having high sodium. Like, it just wasn't working out.
Okay, so I'm looking at Beyond Meat and their stock chart here since 2019.
Look up since 20.
It's not doing well.
2018.
Yes,
Yeah,
it's not doing
well at all. So they're trying to. Those same institutional investors are now sort of going into a different sector to try to make a meat alternative.
Okay. Will I eat the bugs? Who knows? Maybe. Cricket flour chocolate chip cookies, pretty good tasting. I don't really want to eat roaches though.
Quick thing. I have a question because I've been because everyone talks about how cow farts and methane and stuff and cow burps are causing climate change. How is it?
Big factor.
I know it's a huge factor, but I just want to see the numbers comparatively of the cattle population in the U.S. now and the bison population pre-European settlement of America.
So are you saying that bison farts were better for the environment?
I think they may be better, but I want to see the number factor and whether there is a distinction between bison farts and burps between cows.
The issue is not the amount. The issue is how, like, factory farming. So factory farming and how much they are what's the word, put in the same place in a very large amount. And that buildup in methane is not normal for the ecosystem.
So the methane being released because it's more concentrated is worse than.
There you go, concentrated.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay. So
And the fact that we have so much of them, it's like we do it just for meat consumption, but we have to like put them all there. We have to feed them all there.
But did you guys ever hear the stories of Lewis and Clark talking about how there was just too much bison walking across the plain? Lewis and Clark?
No, I don't think so.
Lois?
Am I saying it wrong? Lewis and Clark.
Lois and Clark.
I thought it was Lois and Clark.
Lois and
No,
Clark.
it's Lewis.
That's the show about Superman.
Lewis.
Well, we're talking about Meriwether Lewis.
Oh, I don't know that. Okay, my apologies.
Wait, were you joking, Aaron? I was just playing along with you. You've never heard of Lewis and Clark?
Serious. I've never heard of Lewis and Clark. Who's Lewis and Clark?
What?
You have no idea who Lewis and Clark
You played Oregon Trail, right?
Back in the day, like when I was in elementary school.
Yeah, so Lewis and Clark, they were the explorers that got sent to explore all the land of the Louisiana Purchase.
Oh, okay. Yeah, I never knew their names.
And so they went all the way to Oregon, to the coast.
Portland.
Yeah, founded Portland.
I don't
Checked
think they
out
founded Portland.
the Dales.
Nice.
Yeah. No, it's a great story of adventure. I'm sure it's very problematic if we look up the details now.
With Sacagawea.
Yeah. Oh, yeah.
Sacagawea.
Did they kidnap Sacagawea and make her go with them?
I think the story is that they took her and maybe did some bad things with her and to her.
Oh. Did they get married?
Who?
Am I making that up?
Sacagawea married one of them. I believe it was Clark. I could be wrong.
She was
Consensually?
Probably not. I would assume no. Well, also
Let's not look too deeply into Lewis
No.
and Clark.
Well,
here.
also
that
there's a
might be
rumor-
its own episode.
Yeah. There's a rumor that Lewis and Clark were gay for each other.
I love that.
Hey, anything goes in the bush.
I love that. If you go back, just like 50 years or more, if there's like a famous pair of guys that did something together, you can always start the rumor. Yeah, they were blowing each other.
If they were gay, you can't cancel them.
Is that true?
I don't know.
I don't think anyone's canceling Lewis and Clark.
Well, I think if we went into it,
Probably, but yeah,
Yeah.
they
What
just.
if Sacagawea never existed? That's just what Lewis called Clark's nutsack. Yo, we're gonna bring Sacagawea with us, aren't we? Aren't we, Lewis? We're gonna do some exploring from coast to coast.
Air Force phrases.
Oh yeah, so Avery sent over this list of Air Force phrases.
That looks fake to me.
Avery,
That looks.
I think it's fake.
Although it does have my favorite phrase in the world on there, which is eat shit and die.
That's your favorite phrase in the world.
I love telling people to eat shit and die.
I saw it on Twitter. I don't know.
Wait, some of these translations don't make sense.
Yeah, so one says "eat shit and die" should now be replaced with "excuse me," and then "eat shit and die, motherfucker" should be should be replaced with "excuse me, sir."
That doesn't make sense.
Yeah, so I think this was created to go viral on like military Twitter. You know what it reminds me of? Something that we're kind of overdue for right now, which is the fake dorm letter that gets posted every year.
Quit coming in the shower.
Yeah. There's always a memorandum
Yeah.
that gets put in a big state school's dorm saying, like it's an all-guy dorm, quit masturbating in the showers. The semen is clogging up the pipes and we've had to replace them. If you continue to do this, you're going to cost us millions of dollars. There's always like a picture of that letter that goes viral every year. We're kind of overdue for it right now. So if anybody out there goes to a big state school, just kind of look up that template, whip one up, and guaranteed to do some numbers online. Just tag us in it, please. So we were talking about the Queen a little bit and how nice she is on the sticks. This is a good segue into today's topic because she did pass away, allegedly, last week. We don't know. There might be a Queen replacement. She might still be alive. She might have been arrested and sent to Guantanamo Bay.
She might have stopped getting baby blood.
Yeah, exactly. She might be going through withdrawals of adrenochrome. But there's been some conspiracy talk about her online. Do you know what's going on with that? Have you guys heard about this?
What?
So the QAnon followers have started to develop their own conspiracy theories because anytime anybody famous dies, it's just rife for anybody to just riff about conspiracies related to their death or alleged death. But there's a couple called the Patriot Voice. That's John and his wife Amy. They're kind of like QAnon celebrities at this point. They have a blog post up that says that Queen Elizabeth may have been killed as part of a plan that QAnon believes has secretly been carried out for years. In a post on Telegram, where the Sables have more than 64,000 followers, the Patriot Voice noted that the Queen's death on Thursday happened exactly 1,776 days after the first Q drop. Cryptic posts that appeared online in October 2017 on 4chan. These messages, which later appeared on 8chan and 8kun, were interpreted blah, 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 blah. They said the Queen died exactly 1,776 days after the first Q drop. Say what you want. I do not believe in coincidences. The scope of this operation is far more complex than we can even begin to imagine.
So
Another account, Stormy Patriot Joe, wrote, "Today the Queen passes. I'm sure it's still all a coincidence."
She was old
you-
as fuck.
were you here on Monday?
Yeah.
Do you remember me bringing this
Yeah,
up?
you did bring it up, but
Okay.
now it's going viral. One faction thought a random New Zealand guy was the rightful monarch. I've seen multiple speeches derailed at QAnon conventions where speakers stopped talking about Democrats to instead rant about the House of Windsor. Who is the Queen of England? How long in power? With power comes corruption. The Q drop begins. Basically saying that the British monarchy worships Satan. So
Well, that wouldn't shock me.
that wouldn't shock me at all either. But it's just kind of fun. Like anytime somebody dies, it becomes part of the plan for a lot of the QAnon followers. And Q isn't really in charge of anything anymore. It's
Yeah.
become so widespread that now the fans have become like the main celebrities and the main bits of news from QAnon. But let's take it back a little bit and discuss just QAnon from a bird's eye view here. So
OG QAnon,
yeah.
the original QAnon, was a poster on 4chan. It started in October, May to July of 2020. It was basically very concentrated on this idea that
No,
wait, I
QAnon.
got October 2017.
Yeah,
October
2017. Okay.
And
Hey Billy, what's 4chan?
4chan is a anonymous message board site where there are tons of terrible things happening.
Yeah, so 4chan was started as a Chan board, and what those are is they started out as image boards for like fans of anime and people who wanted to just post memes and have a little corner of the internet that they could be completely anonymous in and have complete and total free reign to do anything that they wanted and post anything that they wanted. But for the most part, it was like fans of anime, fans of like these weird fandoms and subcultures online that got together to make their own memes and really just kind of like troll the rest of the internet. And they got really good at it. So before QAnon, you might recognize 4chan from, the Chocolate Rain video.
Mm-hmm.
The Chan boards made that popular. It was just a video that they found. They thought it was funny. And so then they started posting it other places and spreading the meme out to others. They also are responsible for Rickrolling.
Yeah.
They created the Rickroll, where you just send that Rick Astley song, Never Gonna Give You Up, Never Gonna Let You Down to people. So the place where Q started was on 4chan, which is one of the greatest collection of internet trolls of all time in terms of their what's the word I'm looking for here?
It's kind of
Their
crazy,
stats.
but
They've
their
got-
online presence
Yes.
it's a collection of
Prowess.
Yeah.
internet soldier. Like it's a force. I know it sounds crazy to refer to a bunch of dudes. They're dudes in the basement with too much time, and they use a lot of their time to be on the internet. And they have the ability to sway. Since now most people are on the internet, they were there first, and they now have the ability to sway opinion through posting and putting in the legwork.
Yeah, no, they're very good at the internet. So
Yeah.
good that's where Anonymous kind of started, was on the Chan boards. They would meet up with each other, and if you post on these message boards, you get your own. I forget what they call it. It's like your own. It's like your own screen name, but it's a trip code, I think is what they call it.
Yeah.
And so it's totally anonymous, but people can look at your code, and every time you post, they're like, oh, that's that same person posting. So they can recognize users that are posting a lot and people that they like to follow and who's putting out good content and all that stuff, but it's still completely anonymous. The only thing that, like, when you log in, you have your password, and then you log in, and then you can post under your trip code, and people follow. People get into these. They develop internet culture. That's kind of the best way to describe it. Is like these message boards are places where the internet kind of gets like mixed together and bred. You could say like they create different memes and different things that like us normies will find out about it, maybe 6 months down the line, a year down the line, but they create internet culture on these message boards.
I refer to 4chan as like there's different depths of the internet. In the surface level is what most people consume. I'd say like Facebook, and then it gets deeper and deeper, like Facebook, then maybe Twitter, then maybe Reddit, and then Reddit goes to 4chan, 8chan, deeper, and it gets deeper. I think we talked about this earlier when this podcast existed, but I think I made a graphic. But that what happens deep down impacts the surface, and like just like in an ocean, like the bottom dwellers impact the ecosystem of the top dwellers, and the top dwellers shit goes down to the bottom, and those bottom dwellers eat it.
Yeah.
So you could directly say that the election of Donald Trump is a result of a lot of these guys in the great meme war, and they're pushing of various conspiracy theories and attitudes towards women and other things. Like the misogyny of the deep web came up in the 2016 election, and that's where the demonization of Hillary Clinton, the pushing of the hatred of the Clintons.
I'm gonna push back on that. I think a lot of people already hated Hillary before.
But I'd say the
Chan boards got
deep-seated
involved.
misogyny.
So there's definitely an element of truth to that, where these message boards they blur a line between irony and real thought sometimes, and sometimes they do things just as Trevor Bauer would say, for the lols. Which is, by the way, Trevor Bauer came and we interviewed him, and he used that phrase in real life, and it made my skin crawl to hear somebody say that, like have those words come out of their mouth, as opposed to like reading them online, which is already cringy enough. But for him to be like, yeah, I just did that. I just wrote Bush did 9/11 on the pitcher's mound for the lols. It was weird. It's weird to hear somebody say, but that's kind of the mentality that they have, is like they're trolls. So they kind of get into a battle with each other to see who can be more edgy, and they're just doing it to be edgy. And they claim that it's irony, but then at some point the irony becomes them, and then they get into almost a nihilistic mindset, which they've kind of developed and honed over the years, where they don't believe like in anything really, and they just do anything to disrupt because they think that it's funny. And to be fair, again, like it sounds like I'm pro 4chan and 8chan, which I'm not, but I still respect the hell out of like what they have been able to do. Not like, how do I describe this? I don't like what they've done, but I respect that they were able to do it because they're very, very good at developing internet culture and spreading it out far and wide, just as trolls.
Yeah. So like the memes you were talking about before.
I think it was just kind of necessary, like, because the internet was just so new. Like this was part. Like I'm not saying necessary in the fact that we needed it, but it's necessary in the fact of like in the development of, because the internet is basically just like our inner thoughts, and this was a like in the underbelly of American society, and it was kind of like brewing anyway. So I think it's always good to address like what is really the soul of something, right? And like the soul of human beings, like a lot of people do a lot of bad and dark shit behind closed doors, and these message boards kind of highlight all those behaviors and all those attitudes. And I think it's kind of necessary to really psychoanalyze where we're at as a society and as humanity.
So when we talk about setting up like a social network where it's just 100% free speech about anything, this is what the Chan message boards are. It's 100% free speech, and there's some very funny stuff that comes out of there, stuff that impacts people's lives. They can help people, but also there's some really dark shit that comes out of there, like posting manifestos before people go on like race-related shooting sprees, or child pornography, which has been on these message boards time and time again. People have been busted. Entire rings of child porn people have been busted on there. There have been people that post snuff films on there, like actual murderers posting their own snuff films onto the Chan message boards. And it has radicalized a lot of people and turned them into people who just have turned their backs entirely on society and are actively doing things to try to bring it down because they hate their lives so much because of all the time they've spent reading these things online. So it is really it's a place of complete and total free speech. You can get away with doing anything you want there up to a certain extent until you do break a law, and then they go back and they trace, okay, here's where this person was radicalized. But it is kind of the danger of having a spot that's just like, okay, say or do whatever you want. Free play for everybody. They have it, and this is what you get out of it.
I have a question.
Mm-hmm.
Was 4chan or QAnon started first?
4chan.
4chan. So did
So
QAnon?
actually Q didn't get its really prominence until 8chan. So 4chan was where it started, but I forget the specifics of it.
4chan, the Q moderation board got a bunch of outside, basically multiple people hacked into the Q account, and they had to move to 8chan, where it had stricter anonymous singular account usage, and
No,
the moderation.
It was more. They had like there was so I forget the event that happened that 4chan banned something.
It was
4chan
because
banned.
It was when there was those 3 shootings in a row. There was one in Texas, one in Ohio, and they basically started moderating 4chan.
It might have been Pittsburgh.
Yeah,
So
Pittsburgh. yeah.
Oh,
They-
Dayton? Was it the Dayton shooting?
It might have been. I know
yes,
that
there's those 3.
the one in El Paso, which we don't talk about that one ever anymore, even though I think 21 people died.
Terrible.
And the person was like, yeah, I'm trying to kill illegal immigrants. And he posted his manifesto onto 4chan.
yeah.
But we don't really talk about that one anymore. But that was instrumental, I think, in them closing down 4chan. But then everybody went over to 8chan is the thing.
Yeah, and it was those moderators. What is it? Ronnie Wilkins.
It was Frederick Brennan. He helped to start it, and then the Watkins got involved. So Frederick Brennan is a very unique guy. If you've seen the documentary on HBO, I think it's called Into the Storm. He was born with a disability that I forget the name of it, but his bones are very, very brittle, so he can't really do anything without getting injured. He can't be physically active. And he's a really small guy. I think he said at one point, he's like, I can't cook because if I spill a pot of water onto myself, I'm about the size of a pot of water, and so it could very easily kill me. But he's been, I think he was the creator of 8chan, and when everybody went over to 8chan after 4chan got shut down, the site was doing so many numbers, he wasn't ready for it, that he was going to have to shut it down. And then the Watkins family reached out to him. So Ron Watkins is the guy that you might have seen. He's got a son. I think his son is Jim Watkins. So they reached out to him. They're based in the Philippines, and they had some connections that would be able to help 8chan really take off and be able to handle all this traffic. So that's how they got together. And so Frederick,
I think
Brennan,
Ron Watkins is the son. I think Jim Watkins is the dad.
that's right. Yeah, Ron, I think just ran for Congress or something. Real weird
really?
family. But I've heard some interviews with Fred Brennan, and he's talking about the first time he met Jim Watkins. And he was like, yeah, my first impression was this guy is just a stereotypical porn guy. Just absolutely loves porn, like a real creepy old man that will go up to anybody and hit on anybody. But also like very conniving. And they used to talk behind the scenes about how they were, they would do these active things where they would troll the mainstream media. They would try to troll the United States government, and they would look around the world at like super fascism in Italy, super fascism in Japan that was rising up, and saying like, we could actually like fuck with people and make this rise up in the United States too. So this was like a conversation they were having for fun, like behind the scenes, that Frederick Brennan claims that he used to overhear and take part in. And then at some point, they kind of stole 8chan from Frederick. And they said, okay, we're just going to take this over ourselves and run it ourselves. And it's kind of funny because a lot of people accuse Jim Watkins of stealing, I think, the 2chan. He like stole the 2chan from the originator.
From a Japanese engineer, from a Japanese engineer.
So this is kind of what he's done.
Yeah. And literally, so like that was like in the 90s. 2chan actually started like in the 90s, and that was just like a Japanese image board where because the Japanese internet laws are really different than here, right? And so they found a way to go around the laws, and on these message boards was where like one of the first. It was before 4chan too. It was actually interesting. The name 2chan came from like when you wanted to change the TV to those old gaming consoles like the Nintendo.
Yeah.
So like you had to change it to channel 2 in order to get it playing. But yeah, so he ended up kind of like writing. They had like massive lawsuits about it. They wrote him out of like the contracts and stuff like that. And so when 8chan was started, who's Frederick? What's his name? Frederick?
Yeah, Frederick Brennan.
Yeah, Frederick Brennan. It started getting like really grotesque. And he was like, no advertisers wanted to touch it. And he was like, this isn't even a profitable endeavor. And so he kind of explained how like, why would you guys want this when it's not even profitable? And he said, this was really interesting to me. He said, you know how rich people just have a boat? He's like, yeah. He's like, rich people have boats, and it's not necessarily it's a liability. It's not an asset. It's a liability. It's like this is their boat. And so that to me was like very telling, and why, I'm pretty sure you're gonna get to it, but like as to why this whole thing has came about. Because when Q starts to form its head, it gets really interesting. But go ahead.
Yeah. So they end up taking this site over from Frederick Brennan as well. And Billy, looks like you got something on your mind.
Well, this all really starts with Pizzagate, and this was one of the theories that was pushed in the Great Meme War, where in a lot of the emails released by Edward Snowden that had all the Obama.
No, Snowden did the
NSA.
the massive surveillance.
But
You're thinking WikiLeaks.
WikiLeaks wasn't. No, Assange.
Yeah.
Assange. Sorry, I get those guys mixed up.
Julian Assange. Is what
Julian Assange, WikiLeaks released all these emails. In the emails, there was Benghazi stuff, people started looking through the emails and seeing stuff that they didn't understand. But one thing that stood out was these large payments to catering companies for pizza and hot dogs. And what we now know, and we'll talk about in the interview later, is that these payments weren't typical as you think, but many people saw the V shape with pizza, thought it was like a pedophile slang for vagina, hot dogs, a pedophile slang for penises. And they took this, ran with it, and said that Comet Pizza, which was a popular pizza place in Washington that had some events that had to do with politics, was the site of a pedophile ring where, politicians and powerful people would go to obtain child slaves in the basement.
Like Hillary Clinton ran.
Yeah, like
is what they were saying.
This
And-
Pizzagate ended when a guy went there with an assault rifle and tried to shoot it up and said free and try to free the kids, which, yes, this guy was duped, but that guy actually thought there was kids in the basement.
Yeah, and so we're gonna get to our guests in a little bit from stuff they don't want you to know, and they are going to kind of go off a little bit on that too, and we're gonna discuss that theory. But yeah, so Pizzagate starts, and it was started on these boards, and by a guy named FBI Anon is what he called himself. So he was saying that he was in the FBI, and this is where the Clintons are doing these sex trafficking things, and essentially what happened was it starts with like a small kernel of truth, right? And the small kernel of truth is that Bill Clinton is a fucking pervert and should be in jail. And they hated Hillary Clinton for years, as we've discussed in the Hillary Clinton episode of Macrodosing. But it starts with that little kernel that, yes, Bill Clinton is a very problematic guy, to say the least. And then they saw these emails and they're like, oh shit, what can we do with these emails? There's so much stuff from Hillary Clinton. Oh, let's just invent a pedophile conspiracy around it, and then we're gonna make up all these different graphs showing like pizza is a code word for this, walnut sauce is a code word for this, and we're gonna make screenshots and distribute those so that people will think that these are actual law enforcement terms. And then the rest of the internet's not going to know that we're the ones that completely made it up. By the time it gets disseminated to all these people, so many people will believe that it's true that it won't really matter. It'll take on a life of its own.
The thing is, what fueled this fire is Huma Abedin, who was Hillary Clinton's chief of staff. Her husband, Anthony Weiner, was then found in 2011.
Yeah, it was pre Pizzagate, which made her the perfect like part to this.
Yeah,
because Anthony Weiner, also pervert, should be in jail.
Yeah, because he was a pervert.
And so they tied it all together as a joke. It was like a big inside joke to see how many people they could get to believe this. So they essentially created a story about what was happening at this Comet Pizza, and then watch the story kind of get spun out there and get out of control. And everybody was like adding on to this story and going and looking for more secret like codes in the emails that were coming out. They would go to Hillary's speeches and look at either things that she was wearing or things she was saying in the speech and then tie it in. It became like a giant mystery novel that everyone was contributing to. And like people love to be a part of something like that, a community. People love to be a part of something that they feel is bigger than themselves. And if they feel like they're disrupting a child's sex ring, then it's hard to tell somebody like, hey, don't worry about all the pedophiles that have kids locked in cages underneath this pizza restaurant. It's hard to get somebody to give that up if they truly believe that it's happening. So it became so widespread. And meanwhile, the people that started it are laughing and they're like, I can't believe this shit's gotten this far out of control. And then it becomes a game of one-upsmanship to see who can contribute the more like absurd thing that will then be believed by the masses. If that makes sense.
Also, is there more like Anthony Weiner is one of those names that just like dude sends pics of his wiener to everybody. Like Anthony Weiner.
You're saying the name is a little too perfect?
Well, it's kind of like, I know this is crazy, but I have this theory like Usain bolting
Yeah.
really fast. Like he's the fastest man in the world.
Yeah.
Anthony, I'm not the only relation is like there's so many
The
names
names
that
line
match up.
You know, the best one though is Magic Johnson.
Yes. Yes.
Yeah.
Yes.
I've never thought of that.
Oh,
till
yeah.
just now.
Wild, huh? Magic Johnson.
What are some other ones?
I mean, think about it.
You think something's up though.
With Magic, I don't think something's up. I've had somebody tell me
Some
that
people
something's
think
up.
something's up.
Yes.
Hold on, y'all don't think he has it?
I've heard somebody say that he doesn't have it.
He got that shit, man.
Yeah, I think he has it too.
The reason why I believe it is because my uncle had got HIV when I was a kid, and he is still alive, and he's been going since it's been about almost 30 years now where he's had HIV, and he's not no 100 millionaire. He's just a regular cat. He's probably below the poverty line, and still can afford the medicine, and he's prospering, and he's what 60 some years old now.
That's crazy. That's actually, yeah. I'd always just assumed that Magic was only alive because he has the funds and resources to do anything, which I'm sure helps. I'm sure that helps a lot.
No, 1,000% it helps.
In terms of
I'm sure my uncle struggles. Right? We don't talk to him because he called my mom a bitch. So fuck him. But
yeah, fuck that guy.
Yeah, fuck him. But he's still alive.
Yeah, I don't want him to die, but if I see him, it's on sight.
Yeah, because I don't make my grandma mad, upset. So
Yeah,
it won't even be on site. Like, what I like fighting a 60-year-old nigga. You know what I'm saying? Like,
I will fight him.
Bet.
I'll handle your light work for you.
PFT on your bumper, Uncle Max. What's popping? I'm gonna send that clip to my mom. Please clip that. I'm sending it to my mom.
I don't want to beat him up too bad, because like I don't want him to.
You don't want a manslaughter charge.
Arian knows what I'm saying. Like, I don't want to get blood on me.
Well,
listen, I will punch him. If I see him, because I don't appreciate him disrespecting your mother like that, I'll punch him as hard as I can in his stomach.
There you go.
What if he
like a chokehold or something?
Yeah, something like that. All right, back.
bad.
That's what scares me about.
So bad.
Never mind.
Back to Q stuff, Billy.
Yeah, so Pizzagate put it into motion that there might be a cabal of pedophiles in Washington, D.C., and it kind of morphed with not only is there like a two-party system that all sort of is in bed with each other and just manipulate the public through lobbyists and funds which is true,
yes,
has now been intertwined with this pedophile conspiracy, which could be summed up in Trump's usage of the swamp. So not only was the swamp just people scratching each other back in Washington, totally oblivious to the rest of America, not actually caring about the people and just serving corporate lobbyists, but now they're also pedophiles.
Yeah. And so then in 2017, it was October 28th, 2017, it was under the Paul board of 4chan. The Paul board is politically incorrect, and it was like one of the worst places on the internet. I think it's safe to say. Maybe like a top 3 place on the internet.
It's pronounced it Pole. It's not Pole?
It might be Pole. I was just saying like politically, Paul. I don't know. Pole. Let's call it Pole.
You might be right. Yeah, you might be right.
Big T, have you ever stumbled into these corners of the internet?
I've never heard of this.
The Reddit politics group chat.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's fucking terrible.
But this was on 4chan under the
the
Pole
4chan
board.
Are you on any of the chans, Billy?
No, I'm actually not. I
just Reddit.
Just Reddit. Reddit's where I'm a big Redditor. Unfortunately.
Wait, Billy, I don't believe you that you're not on the chance.
I literally go to my history right now. You can do show for
I know
history.
you definitely use DuckDuckGo.
DuckDuckGo can still be picked up. I don't go on Reddit because, like, look.
Have you ever been on the chans?
I have seen. I've gone on the chans, but I've never made an account and posted anything.
Okay, you're a lurker.
That's
on
like
the
me
chans.
saying I don't have a Reddit.
I'm a lurker. Yeah, but I've only done it just to check it out, and I more consume any 4chan content through Reddit.
After it's been filtered to Reddit.
Yeah, like how you see TikToks on Instagram Reels.
Got it.
But you can look up 4chan on my
Okay.
Google account history.
Okay, I trust you. I don't know why I said that. I do trust you, kind of.
It's just honestly, it's kind of weird because you don't really know how it works because it's a weird HTML. Like it's not user friendly. You have to like have a little bit of coding
You got to
insight
work for it.
to like figure out how to get places on 4chan.
Okay.
I bet you that's. I mean,
That's
on
kind of
purpose.
half the Like that's why it's like a boys club because the only people who know how to get into it is kind of
like
people who
computer
are,
science kids.
yeah.
Yeah, it's people who are they're like power users of the internet that are
Yeah.
running this thing. There's nothing that they
They're
can't do
very
online.
adept.
They're very good at the internet. Unlike us normies. But
which makes them scary.
yeah, because they can influence a lot of stuff. They're very, very good at it. And that's what I've always wondered about the Q movement is if you look at people that are Q supporters and that are holding like the where we go one, we go all like signs and flags, they're not people that you would look at and be like, this person they fucking own the internet, you know? Like they're usually somebody that looks like they share a meme on Facebook because their neighbor shared it, you know?
But I think that's where they're actually getting all of this stuff from. It's like that filtration
Yes,
system.
exactly.
So it's like they're getting the concentrated version of it rather than this like overwhelming amount of it, which it's kind of like you see a tweet and then how like Billy and I are like, well, we read an article and it was actually just a TikTok.
Exactly.
Like
So
they're getting
That community doesn't like me though because I'm a Chad.
you are a Chad. You are the embodiment of a Chad.
The Chad-
You are a fucking cartoon
Well, the
Chad.
OG Chad meme didn't have a beard, and now there's a new Chad meme with a beard, and I can't grow a beard anymore.
Is that new? That's Chad?
I think that's Chad.
I don't think that's Chad. Are you talking about the guy that just says yes?
Yes.
Yeah, that's not Chad. I don't think that's
Who
Chad.
is that? I think that's new.
I thought Chad was the black and white photo of the dude with the long chin.
Yeah.
No,
like
that's the
crazy
troll.
arms.
That's the troll.
No. It's a black and white photo. Not
yeah.
stick figure. Like
The-
literally black and white, but it's a dude with a long chin. It's like some white dude looking like kind of like Johnny Bravo.
Yeah, no, I know what he's talking about, and he's got like weird arms.
Mm-hmm.
Oh,
Billy's the Chad that is always contrasted to like the Virgin versus the Chad. Billy's the Chad from that meme. So that's why they don't like him because they think Billy gets laid too much. Fact
which
check.
I don't.
False.
But that's why like the Frederick, what's his name?
Yeah, Frederick.
That's why he left his original site that he made. It was actually Wizard Chan. He left his original site because it was just for incels. It was only for incels. But he moved to, I want to say Thailand, somewhere. He moved somewhere over there, and he ended up sleeping with a prostitute because this prostitute had a fetish. Her fetish was disabled guys, and there was another one that he was. But yeah, so he slept with somebody, and so he left Wizard Chan.
He had to bow out. He had to be like,
Yeah.
sorry guys, I got to turn in my key, and I got to turn in my badge and my gun. Oh, that
Just
guy might be a Chad.
Oh no!
That's just
That's
alpha.
not the OG Chad. That's a Giga
No, I
Chad.
ain't saying this Doji. I think this is like the newer version of the one.
That's Giga Chad. It's different.
But yeah, it's almost like he shows a great amount of honor by
That's
getting out
that's
of the
OG
Chad life.
Chad. But there's an
That's the Billy Chad right there. But the
Then
fact that
there's
he was like,
another
I
Chad.
can't run the incel message board anymore. I got laid, and has to close down his entire website. That's very funny.
Hey y'all, I'm out the group. Just want to let y'all know.
Yeah.
Felt good.
So, 2018, or excuse me, October 28th, 2017, on that poll board on 4chan, there's the first Q drop. And so, you remember how I said a second ago that FBI Anon was the guy that was responsible for all the Pizzagate stuff? There were all sorts of other Anons that would post on there, be like White House Insider Anon. There's all people would just claim to be, they call it LARPing. It's live action role playing. They would claim to be somebody high up in some branch of government, and then they'd leak secrets out, and they were always lies, and it turned out none of them were actually who they said they were. And then this is just another version of that, and this guy was called QAnon because they said they had Q clearance, which is the equivalent of top secret clearance, I think, in the Department of Energy, which is a really weird specific thing for them to say. Like, okay, I've got Q level clearance. I guess it sounds cool.
yeah.
Like it actually, the more I say it, it sounds cooler to be like I have Q level clearance than to say like I have top secret clearance. Q is like, ooh, what's that? It's
Yeah.
mysterious.
And did we ever figure out if that's an actual clearance level?
It is. Yeah.
Yeah. So I mean, November. So I actually have the themes of all the posts month, like period by period, from October 2017 to October 2020, where it sort of ended. It's pretty fast of a timeline, and we can sort of go bit by bit. So in October 2017, basically the first drops were talking about HR, like one of the terms was HRC extradition, basically talking about Operation Mockingbird and media manipulation, especially when it comes to attacking Trump, making Hillary out as innocent when it comes to emails and everything. Huma Abedin, some of the Pizzagate themes, and this whole idea that the media is controlled by these pedophiles who are vilifying Trump, the savior, and attacking and absolving Hillary Clinton and her people of any sin. And the media, like, there's a couple of events I wrote down after we get through all of them. There's certain events that I think were huge parts of people getting convinced. But I think the media sort of treatment of Donald Trump was one of the reasons why this sort of started to catch on with this narrative.
Yeah, because everybody was straight up, upset. Like the media did attack Donald Trump a lot when he was running.
Yeah.
At first, they treated him like a joke, and then they treated him like a direct threat, and they all went after him. And I think for people that were more inclined to support the Republican nominee, when they saw the entire mainstream media attacking their guy, and then they saw somebody posting online about like they're all controlled by the same person, here's why, I think that was very easy for them to understand and to get involved with.
Yeah.
Because people do treat politics in America like it's a team sport, like they root for their side. And so I've rooted for some fucking terrible football teams over the course of my life. Like I'm a Washington Redskins football team commander fan.
Run by a terrible person.
Run by a bad guy. I was radicalized in like 2002, 2003, being like the entire media hates us. And I had like a list of NFL columnists that I would not read. I'd be like, that guy is so biased against our team. It's like, well, no, maybe it's because my team just sucks ass. And it took me a long time to realize that. But I did think there was like a Mockingbird operation
Mockingbird,
where they're telling Lynn Pasquarelli to say bad things about Mark Brunell's 5 for 15 performance.
But
not because he was bad, but because he has an axe to grind against the Washington Redskins.
I think this media kickback had all to do with because Trump was a content machine, that they gave him so much exposure that they realized after he won the Republican national convention that they're like, oh shit, like we gave him so much attention, he's winning.
1,000% correct.
Yeah.
It was a snake eating itself. He was so good for ratings during the primaries, like, and during all the debates, he was so good for them that they did the estimation that they gave him like $2 trillion in marketing, just free marketing, just because he was so entertaining.
Yeah.
And it backfired on him once they realized the monster that they created. Then they tried to tear it down, and you can't herd that cat, back in the bag. So they 1,000% created that monster.
Well, hang on,
it's prime. It's just prime pickings for something like Q to rear its head.
I mean, it was even better for them that he won, though.
In some ways.
You talking about ratings?
Yeah.
The new
Washington
will never see those type of
also,
viewership numbers ever again.
Just to get through,
unless he wins again.
Just to get through this, but George Soros was also implicated. That was a big one. Sort of some of the anti-Semitic theories in the October posts. November 2017 started to go after Hillary Clinton in Saudi Arabia. The tagline was Alice in Wonderland, Wonderland being Saudi Arabia, Alice being Hillary Clinton. Basically, it was talking about Barack Obama and Hillary Clinton being beholden to Saudi interests and how they're being paid off by them. So this was talking about how the deep state's being funded by oil money in the Middle East that directly contradicts American values. And that's why the country was going the way it was, why Iran was getting weapons. At that time was during the Iran nuclear deal negotiations. Now that sort of fades because other timelines get implicated. December 2017, John McCain is now connected to a terrorist group, according to Q. That was when John McCain started speaking out against Trump. Then there was a press release that they had claimed was Trump trying to start to go after these groups called the United States Sanctions of Human Rights Abusers and Bad Actors. And that was sort of gave some legitimacy, where that same month that Barack Obama, they started referring to him as Hussein. So it had taken the name they referred to him as his Hussein, but turns out Obama's Secret Service code name was Renegade. So then they sort of thought that the Secret Service had called him Renegade because he was betraying the country.
They had. There's all these little breadcrumbs that they used to leave, and so Q would make these posts, and then everybody else would try to interpret what the fuck Q was talking about, and they'd create their own lore. They would take like certain words that he would say, and then they'd write about them and turn like the posts that Q would make into longer articles that they would write interpreting. And so many people developed these massive online presences for being like Q whisperers, for being the people that would take what Q said and then interpret it and tell everybody else what Q actually meant by that. And it became an online ecosystem. And now if you're thinking, well, where are all these old people? How are they involved? Other people that are actually like holding Q signs and wearing Q shirts, they're not involved. Where would they go to find a Q drop? Are these people getting signed up for like 4chan and 8chan? No, they're not. There were other websites that then sprung up to track Q. So I think there was one called like Q Maps.
Well, it came up on Facebook posts. And then the big one, which we all forgot even existed, email chains.
Oh yeah, the forwards.
The forwards got a lot of people. This was then when they started talking about the Red Cross, whose offices are in Haiti. So like that was when they started connecting the Clintons back to pedophilia with Haiti, with their involvement with the Red Cross and the Haitian earthquake.
Which is true, that they did some fucked up stuff in Haiti during the earthquake. So that's what makes it so tough, is like they have legitimate criticisms that are sprinkled into these theories.
Yeah.
So it's tougher to say that it's all full of shit.
Yeah. So
old saying, the best place to hide a lie is between two truths.
Ooh, that's good.
That's why we play Two Truths and a Lie.
That's really good. So Arian Foster is a great musician. He's got great hands, and he's a very, very good podcaster.
You're a dick. you're a dick.
January 2018. So when they started to, basically, this is what really tipped a lot of people off who were like on the fence, but convinced a lot of very naive people. Trump misspelled consequential on Twitter and put a Q in it. Consequential instead of consensual.
Wait.
Consequential has a Q.
No, he meant, I got that wrong actually. He meant to say consensual.
I thought I was fucked up for a second.
And he spelled consequential. And basically everyone went nuts because Q was involved, the letter. They then started to go talk about Edward Snowden and describing him as a CIA plant, which, like, he was part of the cabal.
Wait, I'm looking this up. I forgot about this Trump tweet. I can't. There are just so many bangers that the guy had, and so many things that I can't keep track of all of them. So what Trump tweeted was, "It's enormously consensual presidency." it's perhaps
Which
the most
the American people who elected him.
The most consensual presidency of all time.
The most consensual presidency of all time.
It actually, I think it was the most consensual presidency of all time at that point, right? More people voted for Trump than had ever voted for
at that point
another president before.
Yeah. So then this is where the slogan, "Where we go one, we go all," became popular in January 2018, and this is where Robert Mueller and his activities became a key topic in the month's Q drops. So like fake news, Russia, and Attorney General Rod Rosenstein were all part of these drops in January. And then in February to March of 2018, Operation Merlin, which was not a plot, but they considered it a plot by the Obama administration to send technology to Iran, North Korea. So the nuclear, everyone forgets that like the Iran nuclear deal was taking place at this point, and it was, you know, the U.S. authorities were sending billions of dollars to pay off, you know, a global cabal that was trying to take down the U.S. And then also Amazon Alexa and Google Home smart speakers were actually part of a voice to skull technology. This is one of the funniest ones that they were making. They were like trying to implant, like reading your mind and implanting thoughts in your mind through Amazon Alexa. And also the reason why this is true is that the reason why BlackBerry was destroyed is because they didn't what's the word? What the fuck is the word? They weren't complicit. They wouldn't comply.
Compatible.
They didn't comply.
Compatible. is
BlackBerry
what you
was
want.
BlackBerry was destroyed because they didn't comply with the voice to skull technology.
It wasn't
plot.
compatible.
I don't know if it's voice to skull, but there is something up with Alexa.
But the
and
thing
all
is,
that.
when
sure.
this is when
I miss
Instagram-
BlackBerry, by the way. BlackBerries were fire.
It
BBM.
had the keyboard.
BlackBerries were fire, man.
Yeah, they need to bring back the keyboard on phones. That might be my most boomer
No,
take
I'm
of all time.
not a fan of that.
No, they need to bring back BlackBerry. I forget what model it was, but it had like a leather back. It was awesome.
I
It
remember
wasn't
that
like
one, yeah.
you remember. You know what I'm talking about? My
Yeah.
dad had it. I had the BlackBerry Pearl, which was really small.
So, and everyone felt the same way. So they're like, why would BlackBerry go away? It was so good. And Q was like, it's because they didn't do the voice to skull.
Yeah, 'cause-
not the iPhone.
the person that was making these Q drops is very skilled at like weaving in current events to whatever narrative that they're creating.
Yeah.
And then at one point, Q switched. There was a switch up.
Yeah.
So the person that was writing the Q drops, a lot of people are saying that it was this dude from South Africa that was in charge of the message board where Q originally started to post. He was in charge of that particular board, but that board was a part of 8chan. I believe it was 8chan, right? Or was it 4chan at the time? I think it was 8chan. But this dude from South Africa, I think his name's Paul. Is that right? Thought his name was Paul.
I have no idea.
Anyways, he was in charge
know his name.
of this one specific message board that Q used to post on. That's where everybody used to get all their Q news. And then at some point, a different Q started posting on there. And what happened was the Watkins family posted as Q requesting like to be verified because the guy that ran the board where Q used to post would always authenticate. Yes, I can see behind the scenes. This is Q posting
because of the trip code.
because the trip code. Yeah, and so
Yeah.
then a new trip code, a different Q person posted under a new trip code, saying like, "Hey, this is Q now. I had to get a new trip code. Can you verify my IP address is still the legit one so people know this is me?" And then the Watkins family jumped in because they own the entire message board. They jumped in and they said, "Yes, this is him. This is the
Specifically, Ron Watkins did that because he has a name on it called Code Monkey, which is he's like the main admin of the entire message board.
Yes.
And he verified that the new Q was the real Q. And the old dude that ran the I'm sorry, I took your thunder, but I just watched the shit.
No,
last night,
go
so
for it,
I
go
know
for
I
it.
have But the old dude, let's call him Paul because that's what we're going with. He was like, "Yo, this is way off. This isn't Q." And he got off the Q train because the new Q that was posting, which was verified by Code Monkey, wasn't sounding the same. Something was off about it, and so he checked it out. Different trip code. And subsequently, like I think like a year later, something like that, I forget who it was, but they ran analytics from that moment. They analyzed the different messages, all the different messages, and the new Q had an entirely different writing style than the old Q.
Yeah.
And so you kind of have split camps.
Yeah, so the Watkins is essentially stole Q from this
Yeah.
guy, And one of those two guys, either Jim or Ron, I think, became Q at that point, and they started writing all the drops that people would follow.
What was the date of that?
I don't have the date in front
Trying
of me.
to pick up the time.
I think it's 17. It was 2017 sometime.
Okay. So we're in 18. So April, when the end of the nuclear deal in April to May 2018 is when there was a shift of narrative of how the evil stuff was happening. This is when Q made an appeal to black voters, especially increasingly stating that black communities were ideologically. So like they try to court black voters by saying that the Democratic Party was run by the cabal and trying to enslave them, basically.
Okay.
Yeah, so this was when Q's trip code password was leaked, and that's when it caused the switch.
Oh,
I'm
yeah,
pretty
that's
sure.
that's right.
You might have been right. Yeah. You might have been right.
April,
So
yeah.
2018.
So
the passcode got leaked, and the passcode wasn't it Matlock?
Matlock. No, just one capital M, Matlock, no numbers. That was the passcode to Q.
And I think it got leaked again, and I think the second time it got leaked, it was still Matlock.
who's Matt? So I feel like Matlock, whoever Matlock is.
Oh, you mean like a person named Matthew Locke?
Yeah.
No, Matlock is.
Oh, is that
It's a character played by Andy Griffith.
It was a TV show.
It was a TV show. You remember the Andy Griffith show?
Yeah.
Mayberry RFD and like that whole thing. So as Andy Griffith got older, he was no longer playing a sheriff on TV. Now he was a lawyer.
Oh.
And old people fucking love Matlock.
So
Yeah.
So this is when the nuclear deal didn't go through. Q shifted from the Iranian nuclear deal to Jeffrey Epstein.
Mhm.
And then he was like, look, Jeffrey Epstein, he's getting arrested. He's a bad dude.
True.
So then it goes from June to July 2018. Q released a hit list of 101 reporters that colluded with the DNC during the 2016 election. Then you start connecting Bill and Hillary Clinton to Epstein. And then this was also while Donald Trump was trying to be impeached, and basically he was saying, look, Trump's getting Epstein. This is why they're trying to impeach him. The deep state's trying to take him out.
And they would release a lot of different flight logs from the Epstein flights,
Yeah.
some of which had real people that were on those planes, some of which had people that were not on those planes.
Yeah.
In which case, like, sorry that you got included in all this. But that's how they like to flood the zone with bullshit, which just makes it so it's impossible to tell what's real and what's not. And by the time these images float their way up the ecosystem of the internet and they arrive to Facebook or Twitter, people think that they've got the real information in their hands, and it turns out that they just don't. They've got stuff that's made up. And then you get people being accused of being perverts and pedophiles that aren't, when we do have like a lot of perverts and pedophiles that are getting away with it right now. But before we keep going on this, conversation is brought to you by Game Time. We love Game Time. Game Time is the exclusive ticketing partner of Barstool Sports. It is created by fans for fans. Game Time is a new ticketing app that makes it easier than ever to score last-minute deals on tickets to sports, concerts, and shows, and they guarantee the absolute lowest price. I love Game Time. I'm going to be using Game Time to go to some football games this year.
We're using them next week.
What's going on next week?
You
Tennessee.
serious?
Oh, next week we are using Game Time for those tickets.
Yes, we are.
Big T has been thinking about this game for how long?
I wish I could just, because, we're playing Akron this week. I just want to skip the next 8 days
Yeah,
and just get right to next Friday. But I'm very excited.
I'm excited too. So we're using Game
Shout
Time
out
for
Game
that.
Time.
Shout out, big, massive shout out to Game Time for all their help on that. It's so easy to use. You can get amazing deals. You're going to love it. The user interface is super, super simple to use. It's so clean, and you get the lowest price at the last minute. Download the Game Time app, go to the account tab, create your login, and redeem code MACRO for $20 off your first purchase. Some terms apply. $20 off your first purchase. Download Game Time. Last minute tickets. Lowest price. Guaranteed.
PFT has just been killed by QAnon. They didn't like how he was talking negatively about him, so Big T has now stepped in. Yeah.
He's not actually dead. It feels important to mention.
Q took him out. He didn't like how I was talking about him. No, PFT had to go to something. So August, December 2018 was another big moment where QAnon got supporters because Brett Kavanaugh was getting accused of various things, and that was when his hearing was. So they're basically saying the accuser is a deep state plant trying to take out Kavanaugh, who would be a huge role in when this cabal gets taken to justice. And this was actually the first mention of the Democratic Party pulling blank ballots in the midterms. So the whole idea was this was the first time, like before the election even happened, these blank ballots, they were pushing that narrative that there was going to be false elections. This is when I think Russia got involved with Q. I think before it was just catching on, but I think after the switch is when, you know, Russia may have gotten involved and tried to undermine democracy by hijacking this 4chan, this 4chan trend that was catching on, is when they started undermining elections. And, you know, Kavanaugh being a deep state plant, Kavanaugh's accuser being a deep state plant, I think, you know, did they ever figure that out?
I have no idea.
Kavanaugh was a deep state plant?
No, that Kavanaugh's accuser, was that?
He got absolved because there was no, like, I guess, hard evidence, but like she still claims that it happened.
Okay.
It sounds like you're kind of involved in QAnon.
Why?
You're like, did they ever figure out that she was a deep state plant?
No, I'm saying, did they conclude? Because I remember this, the evidence was very skeptical, talking about something that happened in Thank you.
Yeah, that's hard to prove.
Yeah.
What, 30, 40 years ago,
Right.
But she still claims that it's to my knowledge yet, but she still claims that it happened.
Yeah. So then January, Spygate, where they talked about Obama spying on Trump. Then the Russia stuff was happening. They're all saying this pushback on Trump was part of a deep state effort. And then basically in July of 2019, when the Ralph Northam stuff came out, basically that's when they started attacking Planned Parenthood and saying that Planned Parenthood was the site of using baby organs that had nothing to do with the woman's right to choose, but whose purpose is to harvest fetuses for profit. And that aligned with, I think, Ralph Northam's quotes on it, that Alex Jones always quotes. So that was another place where people were getting this information and being like, yo, like, this is crazy. The famous one where Alex Jones is on Joe Rogan saying, like, I know it's so retarded, but there's babies. And like, if you remember that was another huge moment where Q was kind of getting like some sort of, not legitimacy, but like people were like, whoa, yeah, that makes sense. And it was getting more steam. So then August 2nd to November 10th, 2019 was when the 4chan the 8chan website was taken offline. So there was no Q drops. That was because of the shootings, the 3 shootings. And then
did you talk about the tippy top one? That was like a huge one. So this was in 2018. In 2018, January 29th, the Q posted, maybe Q can work the phrase tip top into the State of the Union as a shout out to the board. Because what they would do, they would, like, people all over that board.
Oh yeah.
They would request things. Okay, if it's real, have him do this. If it's real, have him do this. And Q would pick and choose on what he would do. Now, there's a litany of shit that has never happened, but the stuff that does happen is super confirming. And so one of the things that he said he'll do is he'll have him work tippy top into, yeah. And yeah. So, and he did. And so in April 2nd, when they were doing the Easter thing, he said, also, I want to thank the White House Historical Association and all that hard work with Melania, with everybody, to keep this incredible house or building or whatever you want to call it, because there is really no name for it special. And we keep in tip-top shape. We call it sometimes tippy-top shape. And it's great. It's a great place. And so that was 2 months later, or three months later, when Q said it was they'll do it, and so that was pretty right. Like that sounds pretty on its face. That sounds like yo, he really
said
did it.
Tip top,
So,
and then he changed it to tippy top.
yeah. So when you actually like look at it, right? There's been like 7 or 8 times previously Trump has said tippy top or tip top in one of his speeches or one of his interviews. And so like when you look at like stuff like that, it does look appealing. It's like, well, how did he know he was going to say that? Or, but like when you look at the formula of it, it's you analyze Trump's speech patterns, you analyze, he repeats himself a lot. That's why he's so easily mimicable. And you can just get, and it's like I said, there's a list of things that hasn't happened that Q said was going to happen, but like the few things that has happened, that's extremely confirming to people who believe it, and that's the dangers about this kind of thing. But that was like that was a real big turning point in 2017 when I was like, yo, gave it a lot of steam.
So this was the turning point, end of 2019, because the 3 shootings took 8chan offline and Q couldn't post. And then when they got back in November, they kept talking about something big was about to happen. Jeffrey Epstein is, I think Epstein had been detained at that point, but like everything was starting to unravel. They're saying something big's about to happen. And then boom, January 2020, COVID starts to creep into the international conscience. And then, that was the main topic, in how from there on was all just Q talking about the global elite was trying to take down Trump by using COVID. Jeffrey Epstein wasn't killed. After so much work Trump had done, they'd now taken all their power they could to take him down. The election, like using false ballots, and COVID was a whole effort from the global elite to take Trump down. And that was the narrative that they were pushing. And the thing is, that's when a lot of people really started taking Q into account, because people had never, like, they're like, oh my God, like COVID sounds crazy. This sounds like, is it from a lab? All like, which are now, potential questions, but that's where like a lot of the population sort of cracked. Not a lot of the population, but the population of Q gained most popularity because of COVID. And if in talking about, like, we're going to get into, like, there's a Reddit group called QAnon Victims that talks about a lot of people whose family members have fallen into the Q trap, and, they've totally gone off the deep end. And COVID was when like most of them like really fell off the deep end, because it was something that everyone's at home. Q had an explanation to what was going on. It was being widely shared, and it had the greatest impact. And
so
the Epstein stuff was a huge factor.
Really, my only area, and I'm curious what you think about this also. Do we think that the person who was posting that, and I'm sure it was probably multiple people, or whenever that switch happened or whatever, do you think the original person like had some sort of like did actually work in the government in some capacity and like leveraged that into, or like, I don't know, do y'all think it was just some rando?
Well, if it was the Russians may have known something was coming.
I don't know about the Russians. I think like you take it with a grain of salt, but I think maybe they have worked in the government in some capacity, but there was just nothing that they have said that is of any like real substance or real predictive power, right? And so that's why it's all kind of like, yeah, maybe you worked in the government and they gave you the idea to do it. Like maybe, I don't know.
I think that kind of makes sense.
Yeah, there was no prediction that has come true. There has been nothing that has been super like, oh my God, like how did this happen? Unless they were by the president. It's just when you start to compile the story, and they have a great documentary about it on HBO Max. When you start to compile a story and then look at side people on the side and all these boards that kind of like have put the clues together about who it is and what it is, it's really not that impressive. But what's impressive about it is the ultimately, I think it's just like a big ass troll. That these cats on these boards love to troll people. They love to troll, like it's what they do. And to think that they conned an entire, like, almost a whole party to sway one way, a political party. They probably.
Well, that's quite a stretch.
How's that a stretch?
I mean, this is a far, far extreme right minority.
Brother, you had the president of the United States retweeting people who believed in this stuff.
This is not a mainstream thing. I mean, this is like...
You wouldn't say that the GOP sways to a lot of what they're talking about?
QAnon?
Yes.
No.
Well,
Not
I think
even-
some
no.
of the.
Okay.
I actually think
No,
there's some.
that's-
Okay.
I think there are
That's
like...
wild.
Really? No, I can't let you
Yeah.
characterize it that way. That's
No,
that's flagrantly
well,
untrue.
no, I think you're.
My God, there's literally sitting congressmen.
Like 2.
No, there's not. There's a whole. I will get a list. I don't have it on my hand. There's a whole bunch of people who have believed or believe in it or push this narrative. There's people in the House of Representatives. There is Michael Flynn. There's a whole bunch of people that believe in this stuff.
Wait. Let's
And
get
it's
to the craziest part because I think we're leaving.
I'm not
the big
talking
part.
about. I'm not necessarily talking about the pedophilia stuff. I'm not necessarily talking about
But
that.
like a large.
But the deep state, they're trying to the fact that they think that the election was stolen, that is part and parcel to the
Yeah.
narrative that these message boards have been pushing. The deep state, they're trying to do this. That is where the GOP is. If you cannot be a GOP. Matter of fact, Liz Cheney just lost her election, and it's because she's like, no, it was a fair election. And the Republican Party, the voters right now feel like the election was stolen. You don't think that's the case?
I don't think it's as big of a percentage as you're making it out to be.
I think no. Big T, to both your points, the Big T, I think you see QAnon is a lot of like the crazy stuff. Like one thing, like JFK's son coming back, because that was after all these people got into QAnon because of the pandemic. These crazier conspiracies started to come out. Like JFK's son was coming back in Dallas to lead a presidential election and save us from this global elite that's put a pandemic, a plandemic. That was whole plan was to take Donald Trump out of power. So that they can regain their anonymity when it comes to like pedophilia and stuff. That was like some like crazy out there, but there are sort of themes that come from QAnon that are mainstream that a lot of Republicans do believe. And honestly, there are like a couple of them that like I kind of believe. Like, look, Jeffrey Epstein, like, is he really dead? Like, Prince Andrew, has he been prosecuted? Well, I mean, he's a very we don't know. Like we never got to the bottom of that whole thing. There's tons of names on the list that never got released from the Ghislaine Maxwell trial. Like there are things that could, that a lot of people do believe that aren't necessarily, JFK is.
That's what I'm saying.
back.
I don't think you understand how far-reaching this thing actually is.
Like there
We're
are
talking
some
about
themes
tens.
that you
you're
believe.
sitting across from one, but we're talking about tens of millions of people that were involved and believe this stuff. Like millions. Like this is it's huge.
There's some things that you believe that Q also pushes, like the pandemic was used to gain power for certain politicians.
Well, first of all, don't say what I believe. Secondly,
but I've heard you talk about that, like masks and
yeah, I think
shutdowns.
it was a convenient thing for Democrats. Sure.
So
Yeah,
that's sort of a
but
theme that's
if
in
I was
QAnon.
concocting a thing like QAnon, I would put some stuff in there that's like not as crazy,
right.
and then to be able to so let me ask you this, because I think this is also, if we think this is someone trolling, obviously, that would lead you to believe that it's like a left-leaning person then that concocted this whole thing, right? Why not?
Because from what we've gathered, Ronnie Watkins and his father are right leaning.
So then why would they do that though?
Like I said, either like trolling, like these people, like.
But if you're
like,
gonna
literally, like when,
if you're gonna troll people, generally you troll people that you disagree with.
no, they trolled like an entire political system. Like they like I can't speak to their desires, right? But all I can do is look at the evidence given, and the evidence given says that Ronnie Watkins and his father are definitely right. Matter of fact, he ran for Arizona, I think, governor as a Republican, and he was definitely the owner of the 8chan board. So that's what we're going off of. So I can't speak to their desires, but when you look at what they were able to accomplish, it's fascinating. It's absolutely fascinating. I don't believe, I'm unsure if he believes all this stuff or not, but it's so far reaching that a lot of it encompasses and is the root of a lot of where the GOP is today. I don't know if that was his intention. I don't know if he was trolling them. I can't speak to that.
And I mean,
you're right. I can speak.
And it has impacts even today. I mean, it's trending on Twitter that a guy ran into a Dairy Queen dressed as a clown, threatening to shoot liberals because of a QAnon conspiracy theory. And there was one over the weekend where a man actually did, unfortunately, kill people because of his QAnon beliefs. And it's turned into something that's very like radical and has poisoned people's brains. But there is the element that it has actually, I think, hijacked some actual concerns that like are concerns that like on certain things, like how do I explain it? But some Republican beliefs have been hijacked as a QAnon thing, even though they might be like actual questions that need to be answered.
It has spilled over into a lot of what the GOP, like their mission statement. Like what are they trying to accomplish as a party? Like a lot of what QAnon, not a lot, some of what QAnon has postulated has been accepted, and they are running with it.
But see, if they just started espousing mainstream conservative beliefs, like that doesn't make it a QAnon thing. Like
I didn't say that was the case. If they say they want to lower taxes, I wouldn't attribute that to a QAnon thing.
So there's some things that now the whole country, as we're seeing right here, can't concern if it's a QAnon thing or a real question. Like we're seeing it right now, like certain things that you don't think are QAnon, but Arian thinks are QAnon. And what happened is at the end of the day, that those beliefs made a bunch of people storm the Capitol. And as we're speaking, there's been a similar point where at the Armenian capital right now, a bunch of people are trying to break in and protest. So could this have been a massive psyop to undermine our government? And are we seeing something similar happening in Armenia right now by a foreign government? These are questions that should be asked. Like, for example, thinking that there may have been federal influences on the January 6th attacks, the January 6th storming of the Capitol, is a fair question, but because it's sort of almost considered a QAnon push, like we have no real like.
So you're saying did the federal government spark the beginnings of the January 6th?
Right.
Attack?
Hijacking QAnon in itself.
To attack the White House?
I mean, there's all these, because it's become so radical, we can't have any real like questions and answers on what happened.
That would make no sense though. Think about that.
Right, but think
about that for a second. Because they stormed the Capitol because they didn't think the election was fair.
Right.
So at that time, it was a Trump appointed head of the FBI, and so the FBI plants somebody to storm the Capitol to overturn that.
It's all
That doesn't make a lot
convoluted.
of
Like
sense.
there's no like I'm not saying that happened, but there's various questions that get raised when it comes to, and then people are like, well, that's just a QAnon idea, and it undermines it. Where
Yeah, I think that's the main point is that Q has infiltrated our day-to-day politics in a very real way.
yeah,
And do you have any more of the timeline, or have we?
we've hit the end of the time. I mean, then the crazier stuff started coming out about JFK's son coming back, and then like some of the offshoots that are just almost different in
I think
various.
that's the other thing about Q that's fascinating to me is that it's that like there's no there, right? So like we got into it with the interview with the QAnon podcast. Like everybody has their own brand of what Q is and what he wants and his desires and his and what he thinks is going to happen. And so there's so many different facets of it that it's taken on a life of its own that I don't even think the original Q could have predicted. And so as it stands now, you have different factions of Q. People believe that they know who the real Q is. The other one don't know who the real Q is. Even when if Q posts something, I have the real interpretation of what Q means, and it's very cult and religious, like honestly. And there's no way for them to verify any of it, and so it's just a snake on a loose, and there's nowhere to verify any of these claims, and that's what's dangerous about it.
So whoever runs, or I don't even know, running or is Q or what you would call it, can they be arrested for this? Is this a crime, what they're doing?
Well, that's
Actually, the on 8chan, which is I think got it shut down. There was the mass shooting in New Zealand, where he went into a mosque, and dude posted his manifesto on 8chan, and they interviewed him after the shooting, and he was very apathetic. He was like, I didn't shoot anybody. I didn't do anything. And he was like, well, why don't you take the guy's manifesto down? And I don't necessarily disagree with his reason. He was like, if we take it down, you'll almost make it, you'll make him a martyr, and you'll make it bigger than it actually is. And so they ended up shutting that down because he's like a free speech absolutist. And so he ended up making Forkun, KHUN or something like that, KUN, something like that. And so to answer your question, there's really nothing that they could do, because they're not telling them to do anything. They're just providing them an outlet in which that they can have free and complete and total free speech. And when you look at the underbelly of society and what they want to talk about and diverse with and converse with each other, this is what you get. You get a conglomeration of like real sick people who are looking for, there's a term for this shit. Let me see it real quick. I think I wrote it down.
I just don't understand how whoever.
Here it goes. No, it's not. It's like apophenia or something like that. I forget the actual. I'm not gonna look it up right now. But like, it's like where you see patterns everywhere. Like everything is connected. People who are bipolar, manic,
Mm-hmm.
they suffer from this greatly. They'll see numbers and they'll see codes and they'll connect different things and like this means this and this means this is going to happen and when you have that on a mass scale, it's very dangerous. But it's like to me that's what I see if I'm diagnosing it. But there's just no recourse that you have for somebody providing somebody with that.
So it's technically
template for free speech.
So it's technically not like being QAnon isn't illegal technically, but he's or they or whatever have incited illegal things to happen. So it's like they can't pin it on them.
Yeah,
Sorry.
you can make the case that he's incited the stuff, right? But
I mean,
there's no real. He doesn't say go shoot people.
Right.
It's like you incite enough fear and somebody who probably is mentally unstable and doesn't have a lot of guidance around them, you incite enough fear and you drag them along, kind of your like mystery novel. This is a great way to explain it, what PFT said, because it's intriguing, it's fun. Something happens and you predicted it, and now you're a part of this thing that not everybody is a part of, but you know it's the truth. And then you stoke fear, and somebody mentally unstable, that's where they'll take it to. So they can't really pin him on because he hasn't told them to do anything.
It also, the way you just explained that makes it sound like a cult, which it kind of is. But like,
it has a lot of tendencies for sure.
I just feel like based, or however this person got these, like, quote unquote, like government secrets. I feel like that should also be something that's like, why?
Well, they don't have any.
I
That's
mean,
the
they're
whole
just
thing.
making
There
it up.
are none.
I know, but
Making shit up on the internet's not illegal.
Yeah, I guess.
I was
Our
pulling up
interview
the
is
ad-
with Ben Bolin, Matt Frederick, and Noel Brown of the Stuff They Don't Want You to Know podcast and soon to be book.
I knew that. I was trying to figure out the ad.
It's a very good
fucking
interview.
Good shit, Big T.
It's a
'cause I
great
sure wasn't
interview,
gonna do it.
which is brought to you by
Helix Sleep. Helix Sleep is a premium mattress brand that provides tailored mattresses based on your unique sleep preferences. Everybody is unique and everyone sleeps differently. That's why Helix has several different mattress models to choose from, each designed for specific sleep positions and feel preferences. Models with memory foam layers to provide optimal pressure relief if you sleep on your side. Models with more responsive foam to cradle your body for essential support in stomach and back sleeping positions. Plus, enhanced cooling features to keep you from overheating at night. And if your spine needs some extra TLC, they got you. Every Helix mattress has a hybrid design, combining individually wrapped steel coils in the base with premium foam layers on top. It's the perfect combination of comfort and support. Take the Helix Sleep Quiz and find the perfect mattress in under 2 minutes. I took the Helix Sleep Quiz. I'm actually currently sleeping on a Helix Twilight mattress, and I'm a mid sleeper, so I got not too hard, not too soft. So if you want one, Helix is offering up to $200 off all mattresses and 2 free pillows for our listeners. Go to helix.com/dose. With Helix, better sleeps start now. That's helixsleep.com/dose.
Okay, we welcome on 3 very special guests. We have Ben Bolin, Matt Frederick, and Noel Brown. Their new book, Stuff They Don't Want You to Know, comes out October 11th. And we're very, very happy to welcome you guys to the show today. Thanks for coming on. You guys wrote a book, which congratulations on completing a book. I have not read the book. I read the back cover of it, and I have listened to your podcast on occasion. So I want to talk to you guys about QAnon today, because that's what this episode that we're doing today is about. How did you guys start researching QAnon? At what point does a conspiracy come across like big enough on your radar where you're like, you know what, we need to look into this?
Oh man, yeah, that's a good question. So QAnon really starts based off of Pizzagate. So QAnon is really hitting in 2017, and Pizzagate is the year prior. So we, like you guys, we keep an eye on a lot of things, a lot of strange corners of conversation and speculation in the internet and in person. And so with Pizzagate and candidly with what it was hitting in the zeitgeist of growing political division in the US, I think all 3 of us knew that this would be something to keep an eye on. And I'll be honest, I go to 4chan. I don't know if we can curse on this show, so just for stuff and giggles, I go to 4chan.
Fuck shit. And Fuck. You can say whatever you want.
I think they're
Nice, we're clear.
cursors. Yeah, I think it's carte blanche here. No,
Nice.
it's interesting too.
So-
I mean, well, to your point, Ben, when it hits the radar too, is like when it started to really begin to feel like this sort of like rudderless kind of techno cult with no visible leader. There is, of course, this idea of this, figure that is Q, but it really just seemed like kind of this like internet meme rabbit hole kind of like ball of insanity that just sort of became somehow mainstreamed, at least in terms of like the types of people that were into it were like, wine moms and, people that were just kind of stuck at home. And it all of a sudden took on this new life when it's elevated by like people like Trump and Fox News and kind of given air to kind of like really just take off. I think that's what's so fascinating about it to me, is that it is this kind of cult with no discernible structure structure or leader. It's just all kind of all of these weird, this agglomeration of facts and, non-facts and utter mythology and things that it's so hard to tell, where one thing ends and another thing begins.
Yeah.
Well, I want to still up what I was saying real quick, though, because so we see 2016 Pizzagate, 2017, it's on 4chan, and 4chan is pretty big, right? I don't know about Matt and Noel, but my big hip to moment was I had seen some scuttlebutt, and then I started getting messages from other people, from listeners saying, hey, what do you think about this? And I have never met Q Clearance Patriot myself, which is sort of the protagonist of the story, or the villain, depending on who you ask. We did our first episode on it in 2020, but even then, I think no one was sure to what level it would metastasize.
Yeah, it's interesting because, and we can get into this a little bit later, but one of the different angles that you can use to analyze the QAnon phenomenon is just looking at through a lens of message boards in general. Like if you go back and you can trace back to, any number of, it's all the same drama. Like I remember going on like college football message boards back in 2003, 2004, and the same pattern always develops where one guy kind of takes the lead, other people spin off, they develop like a cult of personality around a certain poster. Then there's drama because guess what? Oh, they don't want me posting about this on here, so they're trying to censor me. Anytime you have a message board set up, you go through like the same pattern. I think Q is no different. We could talk about like how that's evolved throughout the years in a little bit, but going back to Pizzagate. So what is it about claiming, I guess, accusations of pedophilia that has really taken on, it's become, I don't want to say like it's hot in the streets, but it's kind of hot in the streets right now to build up an audience by like insinuating pedophilia upon your political opponent or someone you don't like, because I feel like that's a pretty extreme step.
It's the worst really thing you can say about anybody. You know, it's like, yeah, for sure.
Well, if you want someone on your side, right? Anyone and everyone on your side, you can claim the other side does that, right? Because there's not a single person. Well, I mean, they're not a single rational thinking person out there that would be like, yeah, that's a great thing. That's a good thing. I think it's a manipulation tactic. But it's also, if again, we talk about this a lot on our show. If you're just a passive person who interacts or who comes upon a post where somebody is saying, hey, this other group is engaging in pedophilia, it's going to capture you really quickly, I think. Right. Because it is such it's such an alarm going off in your own brain. Like, we got to fight that. That's like one of the most horrible things in the world. I got to fight back against that.
I would say also what's interesting about this is if you look at conspiracies like urban folklore, maybe tales people tell each other, then there is often, and I'll explain this, so it's not a crazy hot take, there is often basis in fact. It's known that institutionalized or powerfully supported child abuse networks have existed. No doubt. Jimmy Savile cover-up in the United Kingdom, Epstein, of course. And so to your point, Matt, when somebody is maybe a passive consumer of media, they can hear that accusation, and as unfounded as it might be, they can also say, well, I know horrific things like this have really happened, and I have confirmation bias, so I already don't like the people being accused. I could think they would be well within their agency to do any number of profoundly unclean things. And that's sort of the secret sauce of that stuff. The truth at some point doesn't matter in a lot of this message spreading.
Yeah, we were
well, neither is the retraction either. Like, you can say this thing about somebody and then it can come out that it's totally bullshit. But nobody listens to the retraction. Nobody reads that. It's like buried, on page 6. And once people have already kind of made up their minds, it's really hard to walk that back. So it really is just like the kind of meanest and most aggressive and effective ammunition for like instantly kind of canceling somebody or just drawing serious questions around their whole organization.
A couple weeks ago we were saying on this show that it actually, from a logical point of view, it kind of makes sense that if you actually believe that there are kids being held in the basement of Comet Ping Pong, that you should show up with a gun, right? Like if they're actually being kidnapped there and their lives are in danger, that's actually a rational response if you believe 100% in your whole heart what's going on.
Sure.
But the thing is, I think most people just they don't actually believe it. They just like getting riled up about stuff. And I'll be the first to admit, like, it's fun to be pissed off at people, to know that, like, okay, this is my enemy and I hate this person. I'm going to post about it and talk about it and get a bunch of likes on Facebook from my friends when I post an update about, like, how all this bad, nefarious stuff is going on. But I don't actually care enough to go do anything about it.
Just the feedback loop of dopamine.
Yeah.
But think about, do you guys remember the Boston Globe expose of the Catholic Church?
Yeah.
Like
Yes.
like kind of, I don't know, that's probably like 12 years ago now or something like that. But like everybody knew there was shady stuff going on. It was almost a joke about how that stuff was happening in the Catholic Church. Then the Boston Globe just went, hey, this is what it is. Look at it. Here's the evidence. And I think that came as a shock to, the world, maybe, to really, really look at it, to be forced to look at it in a way and to confront it. And I wonder how much that, manipulated everybody's psyche when we're thinking about, it's happening elsewhere, right? There are other institutions that are doing this.
So
Again, it's true.
Getting back to Pizzagate, I think the original catalyst from Hillary Clinton's emails and all these staffers' emails, and something I learned recently was these charges for pizza and hot dogs, which is the big key. What everyone's like, why are they spending $50,000 on hot dogs? And like and that's the label. Something I found out from someone who DM'd me from DC and laid out an explanation was that a lot of these were billed to catering companies that usually had some sort of connection to whatever political party it was. So what they really were exorbitant payoffs to sons of political and important figures, and sort of ways to rearrange U.S. government money into getting to these individuals without having just saying it's a payoff. So like, for example, 100%. It was like a nephew or a niece had a catering company that was taking advantage of their connections in Washington, D.C. and we're getting these huge basically payments for food. And yes, they were overpaying for the food, but it was a way for them to get that money to those individuals for whatever reason, be it like, you scratch my back, I scratch yours. Your nephew will cater this, event and get a ton of money, and that's a favor to you. And that's how Washington works. Yeah. And
it's like the mafia. It's like a construction scam where you like on The Sopranos, where you like the Esplanade. It's never actually going to get built. You're just overcharging for these materials and then funneling the money, and you need it to exist so that you can keep having an excuse to funnel the money.
Yeah. So, and then I guess because of those monikers, like, pizza is shaped like a V, hot dogs are phallic in itself, got blown up into.
No, we cracked the case.
Yeah.
Done. We got it.
But I think once Pizzagate was definitely much more fringe and wasn't taken very seriously. But I feel like, when Epstein occurred, it basically broke a lot of people's minds and allowed QAnon to actually sort of get legitimacy in a way, because now people are like, holy shit, like everyone's flying on this plane. Like it's right there in this, a lot of people's brains, like, I was watching the Texas-Alabama game, and there was such a terrible call that it made my brain be like, how the hell was that made? Like, this is rigged. But like, apply that to, like, oh my God, like this actually was happening. Like,
we saw it in the NBA. Like, look, there's a whole show Tenderfoot made about the NBA. So anyway,
we're also based in Atlanta, bro. Home of the Falcons. So I feel you. There are some times where I'm like, come on, someone.
They were doing so well in the first half of that season.
Don't fall for it,
man.
No, we can't fall for it. But yeah,
it's easy to go there. It's easy to go there.
Yeah,
no question.
It's a true story, and I guess maybe one of the best ways to put it for people who are unfamiliar with this is if you are like, folklore is kind of like improv. And don't worry, we're not going to do improv right now. But one thing that makes QAnon so delectable, the reason it's such cognitive umami, is because if you are entering that sphere, then you can agree with the basic stuff, and then you can put your own spin on it. You know what I mean? You can add toppings to your pizza if I want to be wildly inappropriate there. You can just yes and. You can say, yes, there is this cabal of sexual abusers. They run the world, but then, you know, Donald Trump is fighting against them through a series of obscure mousetrap-esque level operations. And you can say, I agree with that. And also, here's my thing. And now, just because I said it, it's a part of the thing. So part of the reason QAnon grew so successfully and continues today, it's a global thing, is because everyone can sort of make their own QAnon at home. And that's why you'll see people who say, all right, this part of it is made up, but I figured out this other part. That's the real QAnon. That's what you need to know about. That's why the biggest growing QAnon like related movements right now internationally are in Germany and Japan. There's a person in Canada calling herself the QAnon shaman. She is
There's another one?
QAnon, the Queen of Canada.
QAnon Queen.
That's the shaman was
Queen.
like that weird.
Shaman different guy.
rolled up in the cabinet.
Shaman got
Better
a little,
dress
he got a
sense.
little too real with it. The shaman.
Queen. What's her deal? She's got followers. It's very niche.
Yeah.
but, like, she's a commanding presence. That one definitely has some ideas.
Now, to that same point of creating a lore around it, I love how there are some QAnon people that apply the Bible may have not actually happened, but it's all allegories. Like they're all stories to explain stuff. And people are like, no, JFK isn't actually coming back. It's like an allegory for like something large. And I'm just like, what?
It's the same with doomsday cults when their predictions never come to pass. Nah, man, we just got the date flipped. You know, we were looking at it the wrong way. We were looking at it through a magnifying glass and it was upside down. And there's always some way to explain any of that stuff away and to not lose you might lose some people, but then you're going to create new mythology and get new people. And every time it happens, it's like almost like a sea change and almost like reinvigorates if something doesn't happen when it's supposed to. It's like, oh, there's a reason for that. It's because this other big seismic shift happened. And that's where we're at now. That's where we're refocusing our energy.
For listeners who aren't aware, could we maybe explain sort of the mythos like that's believed with all the various moving, like whatever the mainstream dogma is, because I don't even know all about it. So basically, like along the line, there was Q, he was sending messages, and then he started saying, you know, like, can you bring us into that? Because I'm not
sure. Like a 20,000 foot overview.
For sure.
Who's Q and what is the message?
Who's who and who's what, right? The journalistic question. So Q Clearance Patriot appears first on 4chan and claims to have a very high level of classified access, right? Meaning being able to be read on, they call it, to things that are above top secret, compartmentalized information, yada, yada, and says that Hillary Clinton is being detained by authorities because there are rogue criminal elements. So this is like the match that lights the fire. The overall, if all of us were making a QAnon movie, right, the story of QAnon, then our log line would be something like, the truth of the world is that a secretive group, a cabal of very powerful people, worship possibly infernal powers and definitely do most of what we see as world events as an effort to continue horrific abuse of children and to keep the public asleep, lazy, and contented. It's got a, you know, like that movie They Live with Roddy Piper. It's got a tinge of that. So that's the idea.
But to what end, Ben? To what end? What is all this in service of?
To worship dark powers, to further control the minds of peons like us, and it's different because any propaganda has a hard time sometimes figuring out what their stated pitch is. So it's unclear in the early days of QAnon whether these powerful people, specifically like the Clintons and Soros, what have you, are abusing children just for funsies, or whether it is in service to, again, this infernal religion.
Well, the biggest thing is that QAnon is stating that Donald Trump is the solution to this problem.
That's right.
Donald Trump and the people who support him are the freedom fighters, and there's going to be this thing. It evolved into the storm, right? Where Donald Trump made mention of the storm was coming, And that became, it morphed into an event or a series of events that would stop all of these evildoers in their tracks.
That was my question, Matt. Like, what are the events? I know the dates doesn't elude me. I mean, maybe that's not even that important. But like, what were some of these promised foretellings that were to come? You know.
Well, there's so many, and they don't all come from one person. That's the thing. It's what Ben was talking about. They morph, and then they come from different sources. But the biggest thing to know is that when Donald Trump lost the election, it was those evil forces caused him to lose the election, right? And or they stole it from him, and that's when you morph it into a certain number of like full unbelievers willing to physically go to the Capitol and do what they did on January 6th. That's why it's so dangerous.
Yeah. And in the beginning, what's interesting here is in the beginning, in QAnon V1, you could call it, the people were either just internet trolls or they were true believers, at least partially. That changed, especially when foreign intelligence agencies realized that this could be a lever with which you could move the American public specifically. And that's why I think right now about 25% of, at least on Twitter, handles espousing this stuff, 25% are provably bots. As of 2021 or 2020, about a fifth of the stories, the things making noise, like we were talking about QAnon, were coming from either Russia or China. So the game changes when very competent, quite sophisticated state level actors get involved. Like imagine you're just playing, I don't know, a game with your friends, right? You're playing fantasy football with your friends. And all of a sudden this wild dude you've never heard of on the internet is coming in and he's screwing up the fantasy football. Why is he doing it? Because he wants to ruin your game. Mm-hmm. And that's kind of what happens in a very loose analogy. And it's what's happening now. It's a huge reason for QAnon's success. To be perfectly candid, social media platforms like Facebook and Twitter in specific, they knew what was going on. I don't care what they say in court. They knew, and they just said yes to the money and let the rest of it slide.
Think about the age-old tactics of like, if you're at war with anyone, like you destabilize. You do everything you can to destabilize. That's what the CIA does and what it did when it was going into countries in South America and Latin America, over the 80s. Yeah. You destabilize first before you make moves. It's creepy the way it seems to be, as Ben said, like a larger state actor, and it's provably so at times.
Yeah, I want to kick it over to Arian in a second here. I just think that it's there was like a 2-week span, I remember, to your point, where everybody allegedly got arrested and sent to Guantanamo Bay. I forget who it was. Like they killed, I think Hillary Clinton and Obama got executed in the same week and then replaced with body doubles or something like that. Mm-hmm. If it, in a way, I'm kind of into the creativity that they show sometimes. Like it's kind of touching that people are sitting around developing this lore, exercising like the creative part of their brain a lot. Essentially, just they're writing myths, which is something that we've done for centuries. It just so happens that this one myth in particular probably isn't that helpful as a whole. But yeah, Aaron, what do you got for him?
Yeah, so because you said you spent some time on 4chan, and 4chan is the cesspool of humanity, probably. Oh yeah, a good way to describe it. And so, of all of the shit that gets posted there, why do you feel like this had so much credence? So much so that a website full of trolls and the worst of society start to either just go for it, believe it, or just engage with this specific post. Like what? Because all, for people that don't know 4chan, all posts are anonymous. Like, and there's no link to like IP addresses, or you can block that. And so like I don't understand like the level of authenticity that it takes for something like this to take a hold is wild. So what would you say caused it?
Yeah, that's a great question. And I love that you're pointing out the anonymity of 4chan, which is, a gift and a curse. So there's all kinds of crazy shit on there all the time. This works, I think, because it pulled, like any good story, it pulled in a lot of pre-existing threads. You know what I mean? It pulled in the anti-Semitism, which is huge in 4chan and in a lot of the far right. And then it pulled in current day events and explained them in a like new context. And then secondly, and this is almost a marketing thing to that point about doomsday cults, it gave predictions. So now you can play along at home. It's different, I think, because it's a little bit more, it's not just confirming maybe what people had said to themselves in quiet rooms, but it's also aspirational and it's predictive, or appears to be so. So now you are participating in it. And I think that's what differentiates it from, you know, a bad taste deep fried meme or something. That's when people stopped doing that little, you know, that little internet laugh you do when you're alone, where you don't really laugh, you just kind of go. It went past
internet chortle.
Yeah, it went past the noise out of the mouth to someone going, well, hot damn, I better keep an eye on the next few months.
It's an opportunity too, right? Because I mean, what is more attractive to a troll than like a choose your own adventure of trolling opportunity, that like to get in on the ground floor of the biggest opportunity for trolling and for hate mongering and for spreading, you know, misinformation, you know, since the beginning of the internet. You went in on this, and I think that's a big part of it. It's like it can be so many things to so many people that it's like it's seen as an opportunity. I think that's why it took off too, because it's not the same. It was this groundswell, and then people were like, I want to get in on that because then I can contribute to this lore. I can contribute, and then the weirdest, most fucked up and offensive ideas rise to the top. You know what I mean? I don't know.
Yeah. Well, so Aaron, I want to get to 4chan. So it starts at 4chan. If you imagine 4chan as the dirt at the center of the pearl, you know, because clams, when they create a pearl, it starts with a little speck of dust or something that gets in there, and then it forms the pearl around it, right? We talk about that in our book a lot. Every conspiracy is like a pearl. There's something at the center that caused agitation that then, you know, built all these stories around it. It didn't get spread on 4chan, right? So it's not like over the weekend, this 53-year-old dude shot and killed his wife and shot his daughter. This weekend, as we're recording this, he was a full-on QAnon believer, and he just tipped over the edge. There's stories in it in Detroit News. You can find it all over the place. It just happened. That dude wasn't on 4chan. That dude wasn't learning about all this stuff on 4chan. He was learning about it on Facebook and other social media sites.
Truth Social?
well, everywhere, because they get posted everywhere. And one of the major things that, I can't remember his name, this dude who was writing in the Atlantic recently, Jonathan Haidt. He's Haidt.
Yeah.
He was talking about the share button and the ability to repost and retweet messages, and how that directly led to this kind of thing. Because you've got the seed that exists somewhere on 4chan that gets translated to a Facebook post, and now that singular concept and idea can get verbatim reposted to, you know, hundreds of people, right?
So yeah, I think we've answered, like, that's a great, okay, you're pointing to the evolution of this, right? Mm-hmm. So the way this stuff typically goes, first we have to understand human psychology. Human beings want to be Promethean. They want to bring knowledge, and they would preferably like to be the teacher rather than the taught. And that's, you know, that's just a problem with the hardwiring for most human brains. So you see this actively in the way ideas propagate across forums and the internet. It happens with memes. We could take an innocuous meme as the example. It starts maybe on a 4chan thing, right? The image macro. Somebody wants to be the first person to get all the karma on Reddit, so they post it there, usually not giving credit where it's due. And how could they? It's an anonymous source. And then from Reddit, it filters out to like Twitter. And then from there, it filters out to your uncle on Facebook. And at every single step of the way, somebody's able to yes and it and put their own spin on it. And this is how we see these things propagating. So I would say Matt's point is astute to answer the question, like, what brings it out of 4chan? Right, is one of the questions. We know what makes it popular on 4chan, and this same popularity carries over when it trickles out to a wider audience of people. Also, again, just to reiterate that warning at the top of this question, Sir, you are correct. 4chan is a cesspit. The cesspit. Cesspit. Oh, let's keep it.
It's like I'm on Instagram, so I see the TikTok videos like 2 days after they blow up on TikTok. I see the Twitter memes that that originate on Twitter a couple of days after they probably go relatively wide on Twitter. And I think there are like tiers of this kind of information in terms of like the the wide spread of these kinds of information. If they take off in one platform, they'll gradually trickle over into the other one and then into the other one. And so I mean, you asked like the guy that you're talking about, Matt. I'm sure he's barely heard of 4chan or had never heard of 4chan. It's really a niche internet community, for a specific type of audience and user. But that's not where these people find it. It's just the trickle down. And like all it takes is a couple of folks, to kind of spread it to a more accessible medium. And I think that's what happened here. And then it just happened to snowball and just get bigger and bigger and bigger.
Then the normies get it. And then that's when,
Yep.
it's lost all the connection from the original people. Arian, I'm sorry, I didn't mean to interrupt you there.
Yeah, it's ridiculous that you didn't. I'm joking. But that's the interesting part to me, right? Is that it's like really based in no kind of real reality, right? Nothing that we can like it's not provable, right? But when it starts to, it's literally like some of the members of Congress are literally believers in some of this stuff, right? and that's when it gets like, okay, we got to address it, right? Because before it's like you kind of ignore, but like no, like we got to address it, and we have to find ways to remedy this kind of groupthink, right? And that's the it's why I'm a pessimist, right? Is because when you think about how we view QAnon, right? It's like it's obvious what it is. It's not based in any kind of reality. It's a groupthink kind of cult-like mentality that is it's kind of dangerous. That's how they think of anybody that's quote unquote rational, right? And so when you have quote unquote both sides saying, "What I'm not giving any credence to that side," but what I'm saying is when you have two sets of people who view each other in the same light as far as not being irrational agents, what do you see as the remedy? Because I don't have any. My only one is to seclude into a hole and play my video game.
I'm with you. Let's figure out what games we play together. First answer, not perfect. Socratic method. Exercising empathy and humanity is huge, because even if you feel that you have nothing in common with someone, you do have a lot of common things, right? If you prick us, do we not bleed, and so on. And a lot of times people just want to feel like someone is listening to them. Conspiracy theory doesn't need to be proven often, because its mere existence, if one agrees with it, is nicer than feeling like there's no one at the wheel. You know what I mean? Like the great air traffic control tower of the world is empty and we're all just freestyling. I do this pretty often. I will sit down with people with whom I disagree or get in contact with them and say, look, you tell me, right? And then, okay, well, if this is true, then what about this thing? And if you do that in a respectful manner and you're coming from an empathetic human place, then people will walk through their logic. And, there are degrees of this. Sometimes folks are doing what I would call a persuasive Socratic method, where they're trying to like catch someone in a question, but that's often antagonistic and therefore not as productive. I think it's a little bit better just to honestly and openly like ask questions, bring in other stuff we know, and then ask about that. The way that you might the way that you might just chop it up with someone that you've never met who happens to be sitting next to you at a bar. If you're respectful, people like to explain themselves. And
who's that lovely fellow we had on the podcast recently? Who's that lovely fellow we had on the podcast recently that kind of talked about this kind of stuff? And
Jordan Harbinger.
Yeah, that's right. No, it was a different guy. It was a British guy he wrote a book about podcast. Yeah, exactly. He has a podcast that Matt works on that involves debunking kind of myths and things like that, and like the Cottingley fairies, for example, which is like a very famous photograph that was doctored by a young woman in England, and it fooled Sir Arthur Conan Doyle, who like created Sherlock Holmes, and it was largely about the power of belief and how people can kind of convince themselves of anything if there is enough at stake for them personally. But he talks about like this same thing, like how do we, walk through somebody's logic? And it's not like you're necessarily trying to convince them to debunk themselves or to like trip over their own logic. But sometimes if you just walk through it and just talk about it without an antagonistic approach, people can maybe say something out loud and be like, huh, that does sound kind of fucked up, doesn't it? Like, it's not like it's going to happen every time. And it's giving a lot of credit, or maybe credit isn't due to humanity to expect people to be able to, have that level of self-awareness. But Ben, I think you're spot on. That really is the only way to proceed without just hating everything, everybody.
So
the reason why it's so dangerous, you guys, is because it's politicized. It's inherently politicized to be one side versus the other, right? And think about like campaign ads and things like that. Rarely do you see, a campaign ad. It's like, we understand the other side's position, but we do think this way was probably more beneficial. It's not like that. It's, this is stupid, but what that person's saying is stupid. And if you believe it, you're stupid too.
And they're a criminal,
Anytime you attack someone who has a deep-seated belief or a deep belief, you're just going to solidify their position. That's why it becomes so dangerous in the way it's talked about, at least on the news.
Yeah, from the research I've done on QAnon, I take the position that the people at the core of it, the people that have been instrumental in writing the drops and promoting it, are the people that are at the center of 4chan and 8chan, and it kind of developed as a giant troll where it's a small handful of people that are trolling the entire world. And it's rooted in nihilism a little bit because they know what they're creating is complete bullshit. But to them, it's like, it's very funny that they're able to fool millions and millions of normies into believing all the 100%. Stuff that they've created. And it's that core little group of people that are maybe the most successful internet trolls of all time at trolling, in the fact that it's gotten to this level. And I don't think that there's a way that you can like shut those people down, because they're very good at figuring out how to hit all the right buttons. And aside from them finding a conscience, I think that, what we're going to see is QAnon's going to morph into something else, which is going to morph into something else. And it's going to keep going because these trolls love to troll.
Well, yeah, 100%. It's going to continue.
I have a quick question, because I don't know much about this, so I'm just curious. I remember a group called Anonymous. That also had its roots on 4chan, but from my understanding, like, they were kind of like the Robin Hood of the internet. Like, they'll fuck with the big guys to protect the little guys.
Occupy Wall Street kind of was the
stuff like that. Have they had any kind of, I don't know, has there been any kind of like, because it seems to me this is like right up their alley. You
would want to expose it.
This is the issue with Anonymous. It's the same one with the authorship of QAnon. Right? Anyone can go up and say, hey, I'm anonymous, or we're anonymous and we're doing this. And then some other group, this has happened multiple times, some other group will come out and say, hey, fuck you, we're anonymous. And as a matter of fact, we're going to dox you because that's how not anonymous you are. It's strange because Anonymous largely sees itself as a decentralized agent of justice, right? And the problem is, the problem with a lot of these kind of movements is definitions. I was thinking about this as I was getting hyped to record with you guys today. One person's definition of justice is not the same as everybody else's, right? And also you'll see that QAnon and Anonymous both have prioritized things that are important, right, to their idea of their movement. So, for instance, you could talk about some great evils in the world, like the idea that microplastics are in fucking everything. People in Anonymous are not focusing on that. They're focusing on other, often more discrete problems that they feel can be addressed, like the misbehavior of a politician, dirty money in business and politics, right? But I think that's a really interesting parallel to draw, because structurally, and again, Anonymous, this is not a ding on you. QAnon, this is a ding on you. Structurally, they operate in a very similar fashion. It's like I would say it's a collaborative attempt to enact what they see as justice on Anonymous's side, and it's a collaborative attempt at storytelling on QAnon's side.
Or just sowing chaos.
No,
And just dissent,
let's take a guy like Michael Flynn, someone who
Okay.
just recently
General
came out-
Flynn?
National Security Advisor Michael Flynn. And he said, so he was in QAnon. He was like, he did a pledge to QAnon. This guy was full-fledged for it. He's now saying that he thinks QAnon had its roots in a PSYOP campaign to undermine actual concerns.
Hmm.
He was definitely duped. He's definitely tricked. And now he's probably backpedaling by saying this, of course. But what do we think? Is there any possibility that the reason,
shit.
like we talked about, Arian saying that this stuff, like of all this shit posts on Reddit,
Yeah.
I mean on a 4chan, this one stuck. Is there any, foreign, foreign adversaries are making accounts? Is there any possibility that this could
Yes.
be used to undermine actual, bad things happening?
Dude, yes, 100. Okay, so I know we're supposed to talk about our own little book or whatever, but there's another book I want to introduce you to. It's called The Foundations of Geopolitics, written by a guy named Alexander Dugin, who is kind of like Russia's answer to Alex Jones. If the top brass in the United States really listened to Alex Jones and followed his policy recommendations. In the Foundations of Geopolitics, Dugin argues for a specific set of geopolitical actions that should be taken by the Russian government to make a new era of a Russian empire, right? And Dugin, by the way, is, again, he's a nut job. We haven't met him. Don't really intend to, but he has been taken seriously by factions of the Russian government, including Putin's inner circle. And the scary thing about that book, I had an okay translation of it into English, but I think it got scrubbed. But the interesting thing about that book is it predicts a lot of things that started happening down the line. Things like disruption of NATO. Things like trying to break the EU, and things like sowing division in the US specifically, which is sort of the big bad in the Russian perspective. And one of those things was to leverage movements, political protest, any form of domestic dissent to empower it, because this it would be seen as a way of weakening the domestic actions of the United States, such that it would weaken the actions of the US as a geopolitical power abroad. So the creepy thing is, you can't quite prove it yet, but the creepy thing is, man, this dude's recommendations are pretty specific in his book. And a lot of the copies of that book became required reading for various aspects of Russian governance and the military.
Ben, are you saying that like the ultimate trolls, the master trolls, perhaps the Russian, all of their kind of, hackers and all the things that are used to kind of spread misinformation, they saw QAnon forming and were like, ooh, goody, we can get in on this and like bend it to our will. And maybe they were responsible to some degree of giving it the boost that it needed to go wide. Or am I misunderstanding?
No, it's definitely, you nailed it. It's definitely, I think, a possibility. I know it doesn't fully answer the question, but there's a hell of a lot of
it makes sense.
Intriguing circumstantial evidence.
Think about where we find ourselves, guys. By the way, I just switched my inputs. Does that sound better? Apparently, I've been talking to you through my stupid other input this whole time. I'm sorry. Good luck with that, audio producers, if you're listening.
Post, yeah.
Wow. Sorry, guys. But think about where we find ourselves right now, like with the drought situations across the planet, the superheat, situations. We've been talking about resource wars for a long time on our show, and it really is a situation where the groups with the biggest, scariest guns are the ones who are going to come out on top, because they'll be able to roll in and pull out the resources that they need to continue the civilization as they know it. We're getting closer and closer to some serious breaking points.
Seriously.
I mean, really. I'm being serious. We're getting closer and closer, especially with water. Water is going to be the big thing, and it's coming really soon to a town near you if it's not already happening.
I hate to take Q's side in all this, but I agree. I agree with what you're saying, that there's a high probability, if not a certainty, that foreign governments and agencies have been involved in amplifying different messages to sow discord. I think that's 100% correct. I also wouldn't put it past the CIA to have a hand in this, or to be aware of what's going on and amplify certain parts of it that they want to amplify for their own agendas. I mean, you can just look back at, we've done episodes on COINTELPRO and going back through the history of the United States and how we've used intelligence and law enforcement services. So I'm not saying that it's created by the CIA, and I'm not on Michael Flynn's side in all this, but I do think it'd be kind of ignorant to just completely dismiss the idea that our own intelligence services have been involved in it. To what extent, I don't know, but they've been aware of it for a long time. And I'm sure that they've had either some attempted disruption, which, as we know, a lot of times when our intelligence services attempt to disrupt something, they actually end up making it worse. And then it can get into like a gray area of, are they entrapping people, or are they responsible for propagating it? So I think that there's probably an element and a kernel of truth, not to say that that Flynn is correct, that the CIA invented Q, but I think it's something that we should probably consider.
PSYOPs, are 100% a real thing. I think you're gonna dig this book.
But I don't think the CIA would want to begin a civil war.
Yeah, be more
right?
FBI.
I mean,
factions.
That doesn't benefit them if a civil war begins in the United States.
We have to I don't know about a civil war, but I think that's like on a federal level, right? But even like at local levels, it's literally proven that you have either Democratic nominees or Republican nominees, their sides funding the opposition super PACs of candidates that they think that they can beat. So like if I'm running for Democrat in some town, I'll have my super PAC funding some random QAnon believer that's running for the same position that I am, because we feel like the more crazy it sounds, we can win that election.
Yes.
But the insanity of that, of where we're at, is just it's like we're like exchanging missiles with misinformation, and we're just like, we're gonna trick their side, and it's like it doesn't put it past me. Like, that is true shit that happens, and so on a grander scale, would not surprise me if a CIA or somebody had some hand in this on the ground, like PFT said.
It just feels disingenuous to me that Flynn can be like, I was duped by what, dude? Like, what part of QAnon was like so logically appealing,
right,
that you can successfully walk it back and say, oops? Like, that's the thing that's driving me insane, that politicians are using this as part of their talking points, and everyone with a rational mind in their head can't just be like, what? Like, what is it that people are able to glom onto about this that is in any way useful or believable or something that connects? I just don't get it. I don't get it.
Well, there are a couple points. I mean, first, the average successful politician's information bubble is, surprisingly enough, going to be more curated than the average person, right? Which is part of the insidious thing. For examples of how fucked the game has gotten, and I'm not using that lightly, yes, now the American public, I hope, knows the full extent of misbehavior, domestic and abroad, by U.S. intelligence agencies, which often function hand in hand with corporations, right? There's other interesting stuff that doesn't actually hit the mainstream too often. Domestic propaganda, meaning the propaganda of the U.S., the propaganda regimes and institutes in other countries, it used to be illegal until about 2013. Google something called or use your internet browser of choice to look at the Smith-Mundt Act. Ever since 2013, it has been completely legal for Uncle Sam and his whole crew to say whatever wild shit they want to the American public, with a few carved out exceptions. The idea that someone in, say, the FBI or the CIA or the NSA could, or Puzzle Palace or whatever, could institute disinfo or a dissonance operation does have some sand to it, because we have to consider two fundamental things. First, these institutions don't move in a monolithic faction, right? Or a monolithic fashion, rather. It's not the whole hand at once. It's a finger on the hand with enough power. That's all you need to push a button, right? I'm getting wild with these visual metaphors. Sorry. But what I'm saying is, just to finish this up now, to reach the second one, is that knowing that factions can operate without the oversight that we might reasonably ascribe to them means that you can see examples of crazy illegal shit happening, like that gray line between entrapment that was mentioned earlier. The FBI was essentially trying to manufacture fucking terrorists not too long ago. They were sending ops into mosques, and it was the mosque who were reporting these people who turned out to be FBI agents, causing the FBI to ask themselves, shit, we got caught out. Do we need to arrest our own and just like hold them for a press op, then let them go? I mean, it's dirty. It is much more dirty than the public would like to assume.
School of the Americas. Hey guys, when's the last time you voted for a CIA officer or someone leading CIA, or maybe DARPA, or one of those major power sources? That I just want to highlight exactly what you're saying there, Ben. At the heart of that QAnon thing, there is that seed of truth. We don't have any power over what the FBI or the CIA or any of these groups do. A sitting president can appoint certain positions, but ultimately there is real power in those institutions that it's not part of the democratic process.
48 years. Yeah. Hoover ran the FBI for 48 years and did all kinds of dirt and never got in trouble.
It's like it was his organization.
Yeah, it was his game. It was his mob.
It was his personality that developed an entire branch of law enforcement around it. We did an episode on him at one point. I want to ask about the Watkins family. I personally think that Ron Watkins is Q. He might have had some help with his dad in doing certain logistical things to secure the Q name. But I think Ron Watkins is Q. Do you agree with that? And I guess if not, who do you think it is? And what is next for Q? Because they just recently reemerged to post for the first time in a while.
Mm-hmm. I like Watkins for it. I think you and I probably ran into a lot of the same evidence. One of the things that we found, back in 2020, when we did our first episode, What is QAnon? We were pretty careful not to make unfounded assumptions, but with the stuff that came out, especially like one thing that still stands out to me, Watkins testified to Congress in 2019, and we did our episode in 2020, and it wasn't until later, thanks to a lot of internet sleuthing and investigative journalism, that we found what I would say is really strong, compelling evidence. So I agree with you, even though he went, Watkins went on, what was it?
I know.
Oh, did I lose you guys? Or
no? That's
okay.
The deep state is cutting them off.
Whoa!
Oh my god, he just disappeared. What the fuck?
Holy shit.
Silencing Ben.
Whoa, that scared me.
Okay, am I back?
Yeah, now Arian's muted. They're trying to take away our first amendment.
Is it really you? Did they kidnap you?
He just went down and his clone came up.
One sec.
Clones these days.
So
that's hilarious.
But we're talking about this, sort of intelligence institution. Could QAnon be manufactured by them to help defend their funding and their interests to maintain power and prevent actual criticism of them?
I don't know anything about what you guys are saying. All I know is that I went to Ron Watkins, ron4az.com, and I'm just learning all about Ron and how he's
that's what I was
fighter
gonna ask.
Arizona needs. That's all I know.
Is he a true believer? Do you think, or is he just like wanting to watch shit burn down? Like we were talking about what the impetus for this movement is.
Yeah.
At its heart, is it actual true believers starting it? I think no. Or is it just these like pro trolls that really just want to see their shit go as wide as possible and be able to watch and laugh maniacally? What is Ron Watkins? Because I don't know enough about him either. It's hard. It's a little vague.
I actually get
check.
the vibe
You
from
guys
Ron
hear me?
Watkins like he's a troll at heart, and he's like tip of the cap. He's one of the best to ever do it in terms of getting a lot of people to believe some bullshit thing that he made up, and he's having a lot of fun laughing about it. I think that's what Ron Watkins is all about. I think he's as close as you can get to having the internet in one person. He is like born of the internet, like he is a walking, talking message board, and he's so steeped in that posting culture that I think like he definitely doesn't believe in any of this stuff. I think he likes maybe at a certain point when he's getting enough followers that all like love the drops that he's putting out, maybe that gets to his head a little bit and he starts believing a little bit of the lore that he himself has created. But no, I think he's just a troll. I think he's just it's been a very, very successful troll for old Ron.
Oh, Lord. This is what it says on his website. Join me in the fight of our generation. This is our last chance, and it's underlined there, to save America from the dangers of the radical left.
Mm-hmm.
That's really... that scares me, guys. That I know it's pretty common nowadays, but it really does scare me that that's how it's talked about. That's why I mentioned the term Civil War, because it feels more and more like we're getting pushed towards having two or more completely different sets of truth that we each live by every day. And when we encounter each other, like if those two truths butt heads enough, that's how you get some of the craziness that's been happening. Think about how many mass shootings there have been in the past like 2 months. It's been nuts.
I think Ben's trying to get back in. He's in the waiting room.
Check.
Yeah, we
Can
got
you
him.
guys hear me?
There he
Yeah.
is. There's our guy.
Okay. Sorry about that. All right. What did I miss?
We're
just
just talking more about Ron, a good
Gonna,
friend Ron.
gonna be a civil war. You didn't miss much.
Sorry,
Oh, yeah.
guys. It scares me, man. I don't know.
You guys mentioned like maybe
I'm
he started
1,000% with you.
maybe he started believing, we should take, we say drinking his own Kool-Aid after a time. It's sort of like what happened with Alex Jones. Like he started off as sort of like a shock jock, kind of playing a character, doing a bit, and then he started going a little more and more and more, edging, towards the deep end. And then I think at some point he just started believing his own nonsense, and then he
Yeah.
became something entirely different and scarier and more dangerous.
I would say I would be tempted to agree with that, except in 2021. Hopefully, I don't get cut off this time, fellow listeners. Real quick before the man shuts me down. In 2021, this guy went on Telegram and he said, "Look, I'm not Q." So he categorically denied it himself, unless that's part of the big plan, which is again the insidious, fascinating thing about these sorts of stories. Nothing stopping him from going later and saying on a different platform, maybe, I had to do that. And you'll understand why when the Storm 2 hits.
But it wouldn't help him to be Q because he doesn't have the access required to be Q, right?
Right.
So like,
well, what if it's an access so secret that you can't know whether people have access?
God.
See, we can just play this game.
I always wanted to do that. We start a podcast with nothing, and then we formulate our own conspiracy. We just make the whole shit up, and by the end of the episode, we got a pretty juicy one. That would be fun.
Let's do that. That's what the book Foucault's Pendulum is about. It's a great read, but it's also pretty prescient. I mean,
that's your limit, man. You've thrown 3 books at us, man.
That's too many.
That's enough.
That's a good check-in. No, thank you guys. Thank you.
Big T, you got anything you want to bring up real quick?
Yeah, so my understanding was that Q was gonna like reveal himself at Biden's inauguration, right?
And JFK Jr., yeah.
And that was gonna be the big thing. And then that didn't happen. So
Right.
then what was the explanation for that? And then what are they now? What's the new thing? Like since that didn't happen.
Yeah, what's next up for Q?
Right.
The next prediction.
We jumped timelines. That's why it didn't work out. No, I'm just playing. I have no idea why it didn't work out. Probably because it's just bullshit. But I don't know what the next thing is. The JFK Jr. was the resurrection or the return or whatever you want to call it. That was the last thing I was following closely. So I honestly don't know. Probably something with Trump getting elected in the next cycle.
And I was alluding to that. That's just a thing that cults do. Typically when they, have some deadline that's like a big, publicized thing, and then it doesn't turn out that way, they usually, a cult leader, a good one worth their salt, will have some way of walking it back. I don't remember what it was, but it has to be out there somewhere. But again, this is such a convoluted, decentralized cult that there's probably 50 different reasons. You know what I mean?
I would,
depending on who you're talking to.
Right. And then also, as these things grow, you can start to think of them in terms of denominations almost, right? Followers of Shia Islam and followers of Sunni Islam agree on the Quran, but they don't agree on other differences. Protestants and Catholics agree on the idea of Jesus Christ, but they don't agree on a lot of other stuff about it. So there are QAnon followers who, for instance, believe that they may still believe that Donald Trump, former President Donald Trump, is himself Q. And he didn't go to the inauguration, right? I believe the main reason attributed was social distancing. But there are going to be people who believe another person is Q, or that Q is yet to be revealed, right, to the wider world, the normies at large. And their reasons are going to differ. But the issue there with that is that you can be fluid in a almost any cultic ideology of this source, this group think, right? You can just say, well, the reason this didn't happen is because you were wrong about your understanding of Q. And because I am right, I know what Q was really saying. There's a lot of interpretation, a lot of reading tea leaves here.
It's really the perfect storm, honestly.
And the way that
it's just perfect, man. It's just perfect.
The way it evolves is great because I'm obsessed with any time they say that JFK Jr. is coming back and they do like a big rally. I know there was one in Dallas a couple months ago, and then people will show up to that because one guy says this is the return of JFK Jr. Then he doesn't show up, and then one of the co-hosts of that meeting will be like, this guy's full of shit. He doesn't know that he lied to you guys. I'm actually the one that knows. And then he'll give a different date that JFK Jr. is coming back. And then it just keeps rolling in perpetuity that over and over
no one
and over
answer.
again.
Yep.
Yeah, no one answers. So thank you guys for joining us. This was a lot of fun.
Yeah, this is
Ben
awesome.
Bolin, Matt Frederick, and Noel Brown. The book is Stuff They Don't Want You to Know. It comes out October 11th. It's got stuff about Q. It's also got what are your favorite topics in this book? Because I know you do get into COINTELPRO and a few other things.
I love assassinations. I just made.
Let's take it out of context. Matt Frederick. I love assassination.
I love assassination.
They're like your main thing. Yeah.
Well, I just made a show previously called the MLK tapes, and it just looked at Martin Luther King's assassination and a lot of the stuff that went wrong and the evidence and witnesses that came forward after that were never considered by the official authorities that came up with this is the official story of what happened to MLK. And I think that government intervention with assassinating people both abroad by the CIA and others and by, internally in the United States when some people get offed, I think that we need to study that more. And there is truth to that pearl. It's worth, it's worth your time, I would say.
I would say I first have no frame of reference at this point, guys, just to be honest. I would say that I enjoy a lot of the stuff that I think will make it into the next book. For this one thing, I agree with you, Matt, assassinations is pretty dope, sadly. There's a really good examination of the truth behind chemtrail conspiracies. That's an entire chapter. There's been a lot of human experimentation that doesn't get addressed past the horrors of Tuskegee, and there's much more to that story, right? And then there's also for any of your friends who who are interested in learning more about the horrors of political money, check out our chapter on lobbying. It is fucking ridiculous.
My favorite topic from reading it was your guys' work on Lyme's disease, because I'm currently in the midst of a tick-borne type thing, and
oh man.
No, it's not that bad. I don't know. I got bit by a Lone Star tick. It may turn you into a vegan, and that's a big
unclear. Let us know.
That's
good for you, man.
Yeah, it's no bueno. But the Lyme disease stuff is ridiculous. Like it was sort of like, Wuhan. There was a animal testing, animal pathogen facility off the coast of Lyme, Connecticut. And now 50s, 60s pop up, and all these people start getting sick with this Lyme disease. And I know so many people are impacted by Lyme disease, and it's a terrible, terrible bacteria. And, how did it form? Like, in your guys' work on it was really great. So that if you're interested in that, read it.
I'd also like to plug. This book is like full of really awesome kind of graphic novel type illustrations. Like every chapter has like an incredible kind of plate, almost like a cover of like a graphic novel that our really good friend Nick Turbo Benson did. He does a lot of work for Run the Jewels, like T-shirts and posters.
Oh, nice.
And just an incredible mural artist here in Atlanta, and we were really lucky to have him, give the book this really cool, unified, almost like we're all comic nerds, and so it really does have this kind of almost like comic quality to it, and really, so it's a nice object just to have. It'll be a good addition to your coffee table or toilet tank, whatever. It's pretty to look at, and nice and digestible. Each chapter is its own kind of self-contained thing.
It's my girlfriend's 5th favorite book. She's very explicit about that.
Oh wow,
it's impressive. Top 5. All right, thank you guys. We appreciate having you on. Is there anything else you want to say? Sorry.
Oh, just want to say thank you for having us.
You're welcome.
Big B.
Yeah, thank you guys. It was really great to meet you and good talking with you.
Yeah, take care. Hope you sell a lot of books, guys. Thank you.
For sure.
All right, thank you to Ben, Matt, and Noel for that interview. We're going to do voicemails. Voicemails are brought to you by Ridge Wallet. Ridge Wallet is an ultra slim, minimalist wallet. Holds up to 12 cards plus room for cash. I've got mine right here. It's awesome. In the last week, I've forgotten I have my wallet on me. I have to tap my pocket to make sure it's in there. Holds up to 12 cards plus room for cash. There's over 30 colors and styles, including carbon fiber and burnt titanium. And it's made with RFID blocking technology that protects you from digital pickpocketers. It's the best. It's awesome. They also have a new key case to help organize your keys. Billy has this. It's pretty sick. It secures anywhere from 2 to 6 keys, organizes your keys in a compact silhouette, and fold out for easy access. They have 6 colors of these to choose from. So check out their site, ridge.com, and use the code MACRO, MACRO, for 10% off your order. And with every dollar spent on the website before September 30th, you're entered to win a brand new upgraded Ford Bronco, which is actually Avery's car. You get Avery's personal vehicle from his house, or you can just take $75,000. If you just want cash, they'll write you a check, $75,000. You can do that if you go to ridge.com and use the promo code MACRO. All right, Madeline.
Want to do some voicemails?
I always want to do voicemails.
Rip it.
Okay.
Hey, Macrodos and team. This is Dylan from Charlotte, North Carolina. I have a hypothetical 3-on-3 full-out brawl for you guys. So Team 1 is going to be PFT, Big T, and Mad Dog. And Team 2 is going to be Billy, Arian, and Avery. So if you could have one superpower or any type of power to use in a 3-on-3 fight, what will be your superpower? And then who's going to win this 3-on-3 fight? Stay gorgeous. Stay beautiful. I love you guys. Bye.
Okay, 3-on-3. Me, Arian, Big T.
No. You, PFT.
PFT.
My immediate...
I couldn't hear the question.
So 3-on-3. Me, PFT, and Big T. And you, Billy, Avery. We each get one superpower. Who wins?
In a brawl.
In a brawl.
Now, I guess each person gets one?
I think it's each team gets one. So it's like the 3 of us get flying.
So my immediate thought for myself was flight, because that just enables you to get around much easier. I'm not as fleet of foot as, say, Arian. So if I could just fly, that That'd give me a pretty sick advantage.
Also, if the other team can't fly, you can just lift yourself off the ground. They can't really do much to you.
I mean, I guess my question would be like, if you just pick super strength, like how strong do you get?
I don't know.
It's your superpower, man. You tell us.
Yeah.
I mean, like if I'm taking that, I turn into just an indestructible force, and then I just
My
pound everyone
superpower,
to a pulp.
my superpower is super pacifism, and I just make sure that we all don't fight. And then,
Well, then you
we
would
just
lose
podcast.
this scenario.
No, because my super
Facts.
my super pacifism is just like, let's not fight, and then we all don't fight, and we podcast.
So it's just me
It's
and you then,
admirable.
Arian. Just me and you.
So my superpower would actually it would be like Rogue from the X-Men. So like if you touch me, except I don't get it, right? But if you touch me or if I touch you, your superpowers are gone. And so whatever y'all say don't matter, and this is a fight and then we
Well,
win.
then I'll just fly away.
Oh.
You lose by default.
No, I mean, I don't like this superpower. That
I feel like we need to get
You
rid
mad
of
at my superpower? He didn't say what
Yeah,
kind
I
of
don't like
superpower.
it.
Be mad at
I
my
don't like it.
superpower.
I feel like without the superpower though, it's more of an interesting conversation.
How is that interesting?
Because it's like if we had to go 3-on-3, who'd win? Obviously,
Me, Billy,
and Avery.
and Avery versus you, PFT, and Big T. That's a wash.
Yeah, we'd win
I mean,
without.
do I need to say the quiet part out loud?
No, I know what it is. I get it.
No three of y'all have hands. That's what it is. So we
I'm not
wash you.
dumb.
That's what it is.
Well,
Well, actually, no,
I-
they
I-
would win because we couldn't hit a woman.
in this
Hey, look,
instance,
If we're in a fight to the death,
yeah,
I don't
you
care
can
what
hit
kind
me.
of chromosomes you got, family, you getting it.
Yeah, I feel like if we were in a 3-on-3, I wouldn't. Like you could hit me.
No, all right, next question.
We just need to get Madeline as riled up as she was last week about the Ohio State thing.
Yeah.
Right.
And if I'm wearing my
Right.
rings, then that gives me almost a
Superpower is assholes.
yeah. But I am a weak link. I will say that. That's okay.
Listen, I don't think I'm like an incredible fighter either.
You like
I got hands. I don't. It is what it is.
I like. I'm trying to think what you would be like in a fight, Big T.
I don't know. I try to stay out of them.
You got them Drake hands. Next,
Real rich coming from this guy.
my hands got calluses, doggy. I done put in work.
What was your catch rating on Madden 74?
It don't matter. Look at the film.
All right.
Yeah, that's right. Check that film, doggy. In the rain, no gloves.
Well, yeah,
diving.
when they're letting you just
Unbelievable.
clutch onto face masks, I mean,
What I gotta do? What I gotta do? Be catching the football. Moving
I mean,
forward.
it must have been pretty easy to run when you could just ragdoll guys by the face mask. and-
I'm getting hungry.
Because
Next,
my hands are
face
so
mask.
strong.
My,
All right, next voicemail.
my blood sugar's so low.
Billy texted me while I was going to the bathroom. He goes, "Please get me a snack. My blood sugar is failing."
We have diabetes.
I don't know. Just like
Why didn't you eat lunch before we started?
Because it didn't come in time.
So do you have food just that's been sitting out there for 3 hours?
Yes, but I don't know why that's a problem. Why everyone's like, "Oh, you leave your food." And
I
I'm like,
could've
no,
just gotten
I'll
it.
eat it later. Well, it's
Okay.
it's half a chicken.
You just
All right,
ordered
do-
a half a chicken.
Yes, it's rotisserie
Do
chicken.
the next voicemail.
Please.
I'm with it. I ain't mad at it. I was just curious.
Where'd you order?
I'm actually gonna give a plug. Chirpin Chicken. They have killer chicken. It's like
No free ads.
Uzbeki chicken. It's really good.
They gotta pay for that slot.
free chicken.
Okay, here's the next voicemail.
Oh, what's up, macrodosing fam? This is Jonathan checking in from Maryland. Just wanted to know what everybody's favorite thing to do is when they're high. Me, I like to get high and listen to macrodosing, especially Philly football. Thanks, guys. Love the show, and look forward to hearing you guys give your answer.
I guess high people. I think I appeal to high people, and I don't smoke weed.
You have high energy.
I have high energy.
Just like in terms of the way your brain works. Your brain functions like someone who is high.
That's good to hear.
Doesn't have to be high on weed, technically.
Yeah, I know exactly what you're saying, but hearing that shit out loud.
Just some of the way you verbalize things. It's just like what someone might say if they like. It means you're thinking about deep things.
Sweet.
I've never been high, so I don't have a favorite activity. I do like to play video games when I'm drunk, which is rare. But like,
are you good?
So I have a Snapchat. I'll send it to you. I remember this was several months ago, but I got home and I like thought I wasn't very drunk, and then I started playing MLB The Show, and I was like, oh, I'm actually pretty drunk. And it's fun because it makes it more challenging.
That's 1,000% fun. I found out when I'm drunk, I am shit at video games. I just my decision making process is so bad, and so like I would be way higher in Valorant rank wise if I didn't play drunk, but I get on there and D rank every time.
I've got a buddy who's way better at video games when he's drunk, like exponentially better.
I wish I was like that. No, but my favorite thing to do when I'm high is just watch a movie. Just a dope movie, like a real introspective movie, deep movie that you really have to think about, like The Matrix. Watching The Matrix high is so dope, dog. Watching Avatar high, bruh, fire.
See that creep? Like that would fuck with me.
Did you see they're bringing it back to theaters next week?
Wait, brother, I'm gonna be in that bitch. Believe that.
I imagine so.
Believe that.
Billy?
I mean, last time I got high, I ate like a gigantic calzone. Like one of those calzones that's like when you fold a pizza.
Oh, like a papadilla?
Kinda. But like some pizza places make calzones where they literally just make a pizza, put everything in the middle, and fold it. I ate like 2 of those when I got high. I turn into a ravenous monster or like a tweaked out gremlin.
A ravenous monster? What does that mean?
Well, just I just like so hungry.
You got the munchies. Yeah,
I get like crazy munchies and I just start trying to eat everything.
I don't smoke. I just take 3 Chi, really. And I just, that part of my stomach that tells me to stop goes away.
I don't want to get high, but part of me does think it would be fun to get high one day and sit me down in a Zaxby's and just see how many chicken fingers we can go through.
Oh, or a Waffle House?
Yeah.
Should we?
I can bring 3 Chi to
You want to
Tennessee.
do it? You want to do it in Tennessee?
Again, I don't necessarily want to. I do think it'd be interesting as an experiment.
I'm free for content.
I'll take it. I'll do that. Just a little drop of the 3 Chi thing. You won't get super high like that, man. It'll be just if you'll feel good.
I can
good.
bring 3 Chi gummies to Tennessee.
It's
see what
legal.
happens.
It's
It
legal.
is legal. But yeah, that or go to bed. I just usually just take 3 Chi to fall asleep.
I remember vividly being 13 years old, and I used to have a nightcap every night for school nights. I would smoke weed before I went to bed, and I used to watch Change of Heart every night, super high. And I think what came on after Change of Heart was The Fifth Wheel, the TV show The Fifth Wheel. I'm showing my age right here. Y'all don't know.
I've never heard of either of those.
Yeah, there was just fun shows to watch, and I used to watch them super high. Amazing.
Yeah, no.
We done came a long way, baby. That's it for the voicemails?
Do you want to do more?
Do one more.
One more.
Let me find it real quick. Yeah, I can bring like loads of. I have a lot of 3
I'm so excited for this Tennessee trip, by the way, though.
Same.
Oh
I'm
my
so
God.
excited.
It's gonna be awesome.
I did a FaceTime chat with all the boys. It's gonna show. There's pretty much all the old 4 class gonna be there except for everybody who's like doing shit. So,
Tell
like,
them to
Inky-
come to the college
I don't
football
think
show.
Inky might, huh?
Tell them to come to the college football show too, if they're around.
When is it?
2:00
It's on Saturday.
On Friday?
On
No,
Saturday.
Saturday. Oh man, I'm gonna do my best to make it there. I'm gonna do my best, but
Are you gonna say you're being too drunk by then?
it's gonna be an all day thing.
Come to.
Like, I'm talking about
We're gonna go
eggs
to.
and drinking.
We're gonna go to a tailgate too, where they're like smoking gators. They're bringing in a chef from Nashville to smoke gators.
I'm gonna hit you. I'm gonna make it. No, I'm gonna tailgate hop. I'm just trying people's food, drinking people's alcohol, saying what's up to folks. It's gonna be a great time.
Are you going to
It's my first tailgate. It's gonna be my first tailgate.
Are you
I've
going
never
to like an
tailgated.
eggs and
That's
kegs
crazy.
party, Aaron? Did you just say
Am I gonna what?
an eggs and kegs party?
Do they have this? No, I don't
I
really
thought you
drink
just
beer.
said
but I'm
I'm-
just gonna be drinking while I'm
tailgating.
eating my eggs. It's gonna be
Okay,
it's
I
gonna
get
be a
what you're saying.
thing.
That was a thing in college. You just make eggs and drink in the morning.
That's lit.
Okay, one more.
How you doing there, Macros Docent? This is Xavier from California. And I was calling to see what's the most expensive thing that you had bought that you immediately regretted after. Maybe not immediately, but shortly thereafter. You guys are all very beautiful to me. I hope you have the best day ever. Goodbye.
I wish PFT was here to say something really expensive.
Yeah.
I couldn't hear that one. What did you say?
What's the most expensive thing you've bought that you pretty much immediately regretted buying?
I mean, you're the best one to answer this for sure.
Yeah.
Immediately regretted. There's only one purchase that I'm like, I probably shouldn't have done that shit.
Which was?
Well, I think it was 2015. I bought this Cuban link gold chain. I think it was like 20 grand. And I still have it. I've worn it like maybe 3 times. I'm just not that into jewelry like that.
7 grand a use. That's not that bad.
Yeah, no, I honestly, I haven't really. I've had 2 cars my entire career in my adult life. I've only had 2 cars, and I still have one of them. The other one just broke down. I'm not really that. I don't really spend much on anything. I travel, but I don't really regret the travel, so I don't really have much. But the gold chain probably.
You should bring the gold chain to Tennessee and have Big T wear it all weekend.
Oh, done deal.
Oh, absolutely.
I got that shit.
Absolutely.
Yeah, done.
Deal.
That shit big too, bro.
Hell yeah.
I got you.
Hell yeah.
I got you, Kat. I got you, Kat. Done.
Oh my god.
Let's go. That's gonna rock.
Hell yeah. Hell yeah.
Oh.
Saturday night after we beat Florida, me and a big ass gold chain. Oh.
You gotta wear it during the game.
No. I'm just saying the vibes will be so immaculate after.
Facts. Think about a forever turnover chain.
Hell yeah. Does it say anything on it or anything?
No, it's just a Cuban link. It's
that's gonna rock.
It's just Cuban.
I'm the wrong person to ask this question because I'm not rich. So, also I have my interests are very limited, so I rarely do or buy things that like I don't like. Like
I'm exactly the same.
Like I've never really seen a movie I don't like because I only watch movies that I know I'm gonna like.
Yeah, I've been trying.
Okay, I'm not that far away.
Like that, I know what I like. I stick to it.
I'm trying to think
but let me challenge you on that because I'm very similar. But like I've watched a bunch of bad movies, but I found a lot of gems that I didn't think I would like that I ended up liking. You're judging the book by its cover.
I'm not even necessarily judging. I just don't now I do have dating my girlfriend has changed it because every once in a while I have to do things that I don't necessarily want to do. Like we saw the Princess Diana movie. It was a solid film. I would have never seen that
Spencer?
otherwise. Yeah.
Good movie.
But yeah, like for the most part, I can tell you with relative certainty if I'm going to like something or not before I do it. So same thing goes for like things I buy. Like I really only buy things that I know I want.
Yeah, I don't like to buy expensive things because I think it's pointless when there's much cheaper alternatives. So I never really buy something super expensive that I would then regret.
I feel like mine, granted it's not really expensive, but like just really expensive like drinks or food.
I was actually just going to say in New York, I've gone to eat and stuff places.
I'm like, I didn't expect
and
it
it
to
costs
be this
$160. And I'm like, this was not worth it at all.
I'm always like, those 5 beers would have been so much cheaper in Hoboken.
Right.
Yeah. No, honestly. Or I'll go to a bar and I don't realize how expensive it is. And then you get the tab and you're like, fuck me. I couldn't have prejudged that.
And it's worse when it's not even like really expensive. It's when you get like 2 drinks each and it's $70 and you're like, how did that happen?
Right. Yeah.
Oh, okay. I can take it back. We were out one day. We do these like dinners where like we all get together like as running backs or linemen or whatever case may be. And we went to this restaurant and they have something called Louis XIII. Louis XIII is like really, I don't know what's special about it. It's like expensive ass, I think it's cognac. It's like almost $1,000 a shut.
What?
It's like something stupid like that. Yeah. And like we had bought a whole bunch of shots for everybody, and it was just it was dumb. I was like, that was stupid because it's like I would rather have Crown Royal. Bottles $25. We could all get lit off that shit. It was dumb. I hated it. That was probably it.
That's insane.
Anybody got anything else?
Avery, you like your car?
I love my car. Yeah, I was trying. No, I was really trying to think of things that like I regretted purchasing. But when I was younger, I used to go to like sneaker shows, like sneaker conventions when they were first starting, and I've been scammed a couple times. Like I've spent like $500-$600 on shoes and been scammed, like fake.
That's tough.
Yeah, but that was before they had like all like the certified like authenticity tables that you see at every convention. This was like the first couple of sneaker conventions where you were just buying blindly, and I've gotten scammed. Yeah, it's not great.
Honestly, I've never regretted something. Like for example, when I bought my first car, like there were some things I didn't like about it, but I didn't let it make me regret the car. Like I gaslight myself into not regretting those things so I don't feel bad. So like
that's a good trait to have.
Yeah.
Yeah. Everything happens for a reason.
Yeah. So like, what did I bought these bug assault guns to shoot lantern flies in my backyard.
Of course,
even though it was a little it was a little probably stupid to buy, I have no regrets because I use them.
How much does a lantern fly gun cost?
Like $20.
Oh,
I mean, they sent some to the office, but then I bought more because I wanted.
Could never have enough.
Yeah.
But definitely remember this question because PFT definitely has something.
Yeah.
I don't know. He's rich, but he doesn't spend. It doesn't sound like he spends a ton of money on things.
We'll have to ask.
Like a minimalist.
Yeah.
That it?
We'll
That's
get him
it.
to respond later. Yeah.
Yeah.
All right, Billy or Big T, take us out, man.
Billy, you enjoy doing that.
I've never taken us out.
Do your voice.
Thank you guys for listening to Macro Dosing, coming out on Tuesdays and Thursdays.
People are going to hate
week.
this. People are going to hate that.
Oh, shut up.
All right. We'll see y'all next
Have a
week.
good one. Love you guys.